Hello everyone, I hope we are audible and I hope that all the people who have appeared in Prelims 2025, they are appearing from the not so easy paper, which looks on the face of it very easy, but definitely when you solve it in real exam like situation in high humidity and high temperature, it does not comes across as easy. So over a period of next 1.5 hours, we are going to analyze each and every question, but for the time being, I have with me Rahul Sir as well as Pramod Sir. So Rahul Sir and Pramod Sir, please come here and let's, in 1 minute, what is the brief takeaway, Pramod Sir?
Okay, so the first Pratham Drishtiya, okay,
Yeah.
the first impression of the paper looks easy, but believe me, it is not.
It's not.
The paper is good, it's conceptual,
Yeah.
and there are factual aspect also.
Yes.
And I personally believe that UPSC has surprised again this time with few areas.
Mm-hmm.
And let's hope, I believe that a student should not be much concerned about how much score will come and all, and let the dust settle. And I hope that UPSC will maintain its legacy of maintaining high standard.
High standards.
Yes.
And not being recognized as unpredictable service commission. Rahul Sir?
So as you have already said, Vaibhav, that it's whatever the paper is, UPSC exam is never easy because analyzing it outside the classroom.
This is what you said.
Huh,
stole
so
your
you
line.
okay,
I'm
fine.
So sorry.
So
This is what you were
for
exactly
me, it's
saying.
like even if they'll ask very basic things, it becomes very difficult. And second thing which we need to understand right now is, I'm sure this week for everyone would have been a very hectic week. So that this is not the time to be too concerned and not to go into too much of deliberation about the cutoff, because this is the all India exam and no one can predict the cutoffs. So if anyone who is getting from 75 above can be hopeful for their selection, and as we always say, it is never about pre, it is about preparing for mains. So this is not the time to be too concerned about the score, and today is the time to just relax, and whatever they have done, nothing can be changed, and they can just listen the discussion on this aspect, that what could be the best of the answer which we are going to give to them. Okay.
Right, sir.
So this is what my takeaway is.
So we are going to need both of you because Pramod Sir and Raja Sir, they are going to analyze economy and you are going to take up IR questions. So before we begin the discussion in less 2-3 minutes, let's have all the subject specialists, faculty team members to have a brief conversation. But before that, I would like to begin with Sanjeev Sir. संजीव सर, आपने प्री परीक्षण से तहलका तो पहले ही मचा रखा है, लेकिन आज जब आप सवाल बनाते थे तो मुझे समझ में आया कि वैसे सवाल खो खो पे क्यों बनाए जाते थे या मिडिवल और एंशिएंट में वैसे सवाल क्यों पूछे जाते थे, तो आपका क्या ओपिनियन है इस पेपर को देख के?
इस पेपर को देख के इसमें है कि इजी क्वेश्चन सिली मिस्टेक नहीं होने चाहिए। जो डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन है वो तो सबके लिए है। हाँ, लाइक हिस्ट्री लेते हैं तो हिस्ट्री में काफी कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्वेश्चन ओल्ड एनसीईआरटी एंड न्यू एनसीईआरटी से पूछे गए। तो मुझे लगता है कि सिली मिस्टेक ना हो तो पेपर सही था,
बैलेंस पेपर था। आपको डिफिकल्ट साइड नहीं लगा?
डिफिकल्ट साइड,
डिफिकल्ट साइड है
क्वेश्चन आल्सो,
लेकिन जिन बच्चों के 70 प्लस आ रहे हैं, all those students who are getting 70 plus, your recommendation is
they
start
may be
preparing
included. Of course they should start preparing.
Correct. So that is our recommendation, is that if in any answer key, our answer key or any other answer key, you are touching 70, irrespective of, don't speculate, start preparing for mains, because even if you qualify prelims, eventual test is the mains examination, where that is the real qualifier, that is 1750 marks.
And even if you will not be able to qualify pre, anyhow you have to prepare for the mains. Yes.
Correct. So let's start with economy. Raja sir and Pramod sir, what are your opinions? First, let me ask Raja sir.
Yes. At the outset, I believe the paper is pretty moderate. So in terms of its weightage, we have got around 15 to 16 questions from economy,
Right.
which has been the trend in the last 10 years.
Right.
And even in terms of its distribution, there are no complaints. So it has covered almost all the basic concepts like monetary policy, fiscal policy. There are 2 questions from fiscal policy. And since last 2 to 3 years, UPSC has been giving too much of emphasis on financial markets, stock markets. And even this year we have seen 2 questions from it.
Correct.
So agriculture, infrastructure, energy, I mean, no surprises at all, to be honest. I think any serious aspirant can score around 18 to 20 marks from this subject alone.
Okay, cool. Pramod sir?
So the predictable areas in economy are monetary and banking,
Right.
public finance. The third is the capital market, and agriculture. So when you look at these, UPSC has covered. And one more thing, a lot of questions are very conceptual, application based, and from basic sources, NCRTs. Okay, so that is my take. And students should be able to attempt 11, 12 questions easily if they have a good basic understanding of the concepts.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So please, we will have geography faculty, environment faculty, Gaurav Sir. So Gaurav Sir.
हेलो सर एंड हाउ आर यू
I'm good. I'm good.
मैं सब बच्चों से पूछ रहा हूँ So I hope the paper went well. As far as geography environment is concerned, I think that this time the paper was relatively easier from the previous 2 to 3 years when we see कि environment में वो लोग कुछ भी पूछ रहे थे. A lot of we have discussed a lot of times that species में इतना depth में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. So we have discussed this thing, and this year also we have seen there was I guess just 1 or 2 questions related to species. But when you see environment, there was a huge overlapping between environment and geographical part. A lot of questions came from the international negotiations, for example COP28 वाला question. अब उनको 29 से नहीं पूछा, उन्होंने 28 से पूछ लिया. ठीक है. So in classes also I guess we did COP 27, 28 and 29, and that was the basic idea कि last 3 साल की COP अपने को पता होनी चाहिए. This we have discussed. So I was so happy on looking at the geography and environment section, and I hope our students would have the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
We'll begin the discussion with polity.
Yeah.
Then we'll move on to geography. So stay around. Then I would like to call history faculty sir, Vineet Sir. Sir, आपका पहला ओपिनियन हिस्ट्री का, और आपने तो सॉल्व तो कर लिया था 10 मिनट में. मुझे लगता है बच्चों के लिए इतना आसान तो नहीं रहा होगा इसको सॉल्व करना. सो सर प्लीज.
Actually, questions were not that much easy. But the people who have gone through NCRT, old and new NCRT, they would be easily solving the question. And around out of 15, 12 or 10 questions from directly NCRT.
Right, sir.
So if they have made only 3 or 4 questions like silly mistakes, so definitely they will do good in this examination.
They will do good in the examination. Thank you so much, sir. So let me begin the discussion with the polity questions. So I hope that after having gone through the revision classes and the foundation classes, all of you might have realized as to why polity, especially when it comes to the prelims examination, happens to be mainly centered around the knowledge of the basic constitutional text. So before we begin with discussing each and every question of polity, let me quickly show you the distribution. As you can see, as usual, economy and geography, environment together have been they have garnered quite high weightage. Current affairs comes up as an overlapping package. So a lot of the questions of current affairs can be packed up in IR, in economy. So what we have done is that we have taken up only those current affairs questions which cannot be segregated into any of the subjects. For example, the 2 questions on sports or Gokul mission, there are 5-6 questions. So according to our categorization, if there is a current affairs question for economy, that has gone into economy. So let's now begin with the polity question. The first question dealt with the local governance in our country, the decentralization of power up to the local level, and it had 3 statements. Panchayat at intermediate level exists in all states. The second statement, to be eligible to be a member of Panchayat at intermediate level, a person should attain the age of 30 years. And the chief minister of a state constitutes a commission to review the financial position of Panchayat at intermediate levels and to make recommendations regarding distribution of net proceeds of taxes and duties and the rest of the statement. You can see that the question expected us to know which of the given statement is or not correct. And this is basically the reading of the bare act of the constitution. You can see that panchayats at intermediate level is not mandatory provision to be instituted in every state. So that is obviously incorrect. To be eligible to be a member of a panchayat at intermediate level, a person should attain the age of 30 years. That is just the tweaking of the basic age from 21 to 30. That is also incorrect. And the chief minister of a state constitutes a commission. It's not the chief minister. In fact, all the executive power lies with the governor. All the financial power lies with the governor, just like it is for the president. And so instead of chief minister, this is the governor, and this is also an incorrect statement. That is why the answer is all of them are incorrect, 1, 2 and 3. Let's now move on to the next question, which centered with the statutory body Lokpal, which we have done in revision classes. The power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India. So far it is correct, but not to Indian public servants posted outside India. It is applicable to all Indian servants, public servants, civil servants who are on the payroll of the government of India. irrespective of whether they are serving within the territory of India or outside the territory of India. So this is obviously incorrect. The chairperson or a member shall not be a member of the parliament or member of the legislature of any state or union territory, and only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, has to be its chairperson. As you can see, this is also wrong, because it is not mandated to be the Chief Justice of India only to be the chairperson, so this also happens to be incorrect. The chairperson of a member shall not be a person of less than 45 years of age on the date of assuming office as the chairperson or member, as the case may be. This in fact is a provision of the Lokpal Act. It is true, because as per Lokpal Act, chairperson or member shall have at least 45 years of age. That is correct. Lokpal cannot inquire into allegations of corruption. Remember, this is one of the stark deviations from the accountability that was so far enforced on the position of the Prime Minister, where we saw that initially when the Lokpal bill was being legislated, Prime Minister's office was kept outside, but because of India Against Corruption, strong emphasis on keeping the Prime Minister inside, the Prime Minister, for some of their action, was brought under the scrutiny of the Lokpal. So when it comes to Prime Minister, you have to first decide whether these are the actions which can be taken up by the Lokpal or not. So you can say that Prime Minister's office is not absolutely immunized from the scrutiny by the Lokpal. So this is also incorrect. And so the right answer is A, 3 only. Then you have considered the following statements with regard to pardoning power of the President of India. The exercise of his power by the President can be subjected to limited judicial review. Now focus on the word limited. The judicial review is not, you can say, open and complete, but up to some level, up to some limits, the action or the decision taken by the President is open on the basis of malified intent, irrelevant considerations, non-use of mind, and violation of constitutional principle under Union of India versus Sriharan case 2016. Now, there have been previous Supreme Court judgments as well, but this particular judgment happens to be the most profound one, setting the limited judicial oversight over the power of the President to be able to, power of the Supreme Court to review the presidential pardoning power. So this is correct. The President can exercise the power without the advice of central government. Now this is just the violation of parliamentary system of government, where the President is supposed, or the head of the state is supposed to work on aid and advice of Council of Ministers for all the actions that they perform. It deviates to some level in case of governor, which we'll see is also a question. So this is incorrect, leading us to the right answer, A only. Then you have a next question which deals with the parliamentary procedures. On the dissolution of the House of the People, the Speaker shall not vacate his or her office until immediately before the first meeting of the House of the People after the dissolution. So this is a correct statement. You need to have the Speaker to serve the last term for various procedural purposes that have to be satisfied. According to the provision of the Constitution of India, a member of the House of the People, on being elected as a Speaker, shall resign from his or her political party immediately. In fact, if you remember the classes, this is one of the reasons as to why the position of the Speaker or the powers of the Speaker are not exercised in a neutral, non-partisan and an apolitical fashion, because they are continued to be attached by the political parties that they belong, even after they have become Speaker, a position where they are expected to exercise their powers without any fear or fervor. The Speaker of the House of the People may be removed from his or her office by a resolution of the House of the People passed by a majority of all the then members of the House, provided that no resolution shall be moved unless at least 14 days of notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. You can see that this is the constitutional provision. The third statement is correct under Article 94, Clause C. So you can see that the right answer is 1 and 3 only. 2 happens to be incorrect. Next question deals with, again, the Parliament. If any question arises as to whether a member of the House of the People has become subject to disqualification under 10th schedule, the President's decision in accordance with the opinion of the Council of Union Ministers shall be final. Now, while President of India is expected to act on aid and advice, binding aid and advice of Election Commission to disqualify MPs for all the matters except for one, that happens to be the anti-defection law under the provision of this 10th schedule, where the ultimate decision is taken by the presiding officer chairperson. So you can see that under paragraph 6 of 10th schedule, to decide on the qualification is rests only with the speaker and not with the president. This happens to be incorrect. There is no mention of the word political party in the Constitution of India. That's also incorrect. In fact, the Constitution is scattered with a lot of references to the political party. Although it is true that when the Constitution was promulgated in 1950, it did not certainly carry any reference to political parties. But later on, through multiple amendments, for example, 93rd Constitutional Amendment added Article 75, and where 75 clause 1B, which contains references to political parties. Then you have provision in 10th schedule which contains references to political parties. So that is also quite incorrect, leading us to the right answer D. Then you have assertion reasoning type question which UPSC has started last year. Statement number 1, in India the state governments have no power for making rules for grant of concessions in respect of extraction of minor minerals, even though such minerals are located in their territories. And statement number 2 is, in India the central government has the power to notify minor minerals under the relevant law. Second statement happens to be correct. So in India you have MMDR Act, where the central government declares which mineral is going to be a minor mineral, and as soon as a mineral is declared as a minor mineral, then the state government gets the power to grant concession in respect of extraction of minor minerals. So this is correct, that is incorrect. That leaves us with only one choice, where statement 1 is not correct but statement 2 is correct. The answer is B. Then you have the next question with respect to Article 123 with reference to Indian polity. Consider the following statements. An ordinance can amend any central act. Article 123 itself says that through an ordinance, President can do whatever Parliament can do. So because Parliament can, through an ordinance, amend central act, on various occasions the central government has used this power through President to amend various laws. So this is correct. The statement 2, an ordinance can abridge a fundamental right, because if you look at Article 12 and 13, you can see that the government, through ordinance, through laws, through notifications, through regulations, bylaws, are not allowed to abridge or take away any or either of the rights given in Part 3. So if the laws and ordinance cannot take it away or reduce it, it certainly cannot be done. So an ordinance cannot abridge a fundamental right in any case. That is specifically coming out of Article 13. If you go to Article 13, you can see ordinance mentioned there. An ordinance can come into effect from back date, which basically talks about the retrospective aspect of law. So you can see that, can the Parliament pass a law which has an effect going backwards? So today is the day, 25th of May 2025. Today, can the Parliament pass a law and charge us for extra income tax going back 10 years? Yes, the government can do that in terms of civic, finance and taxation related laws. And so because the Parliament can do that, the ordinance also can enable the President to do that. So both 1 and 3 are correct. So you can see that parliamentary acts and ordinances can have retrospective effect according to explicit wording. The taxation laws are frequently amended through ordinance mechanisms. In 2016, the government did that. In fact, the whole Vodafone case that you see, the fight between the central government and the Vodafone company, is just the use of this kind of power. Then you have 3 very, very factual questions, and in fact a very, very difficult set of questions, where 3 states are given and some information related to these states are given, where if you apply your common sense, obviously you can mark at least one of them correct. The capital of Arunachal Pradesh happens to be Itanagar, the brick, Eat, so the word comes from there, and it has 2 national parks. So that is the correct match. Nagaland, the state came into existence on the basis of a Constitutional Amendment Act. That is also correct. Through 13th Constitutional Amendment Act, it became 16th state of India. Now, don't ever be confused as to why for creation of a state we needed a constitutional amendment under Article 368. Whereas we have seen in Article 3 and 4, it clearly gives an exemption to the state to not follow the procedures laid down in Article 368 to create a new state or reorganize the political map of our country. So you can see that Nagaland was created out of a special context and a history. There is a lot of anti-state, anti-India activity going on, and finally a solution was reached between Nagaland, the Naga people, and Indian government, where Naga people decided to stay as a part of India only if the government provided them certain exemptions from the strict constitutional procedures, which meant that asymmetric federalism of India came into effect. Now, in order to give that exemption to Nagaland from the center-state relation, to give it special treatment, the constitution had to be amended, because when Nagaland came into existence, it was not like an ordinary state like Telangana. It was a different state, and for that you needed a constitutional amendment. And probably the UPSC has tried to play this, because people would think, why would you need a constitutional amendment to create a new state, and they are going to mark it incorrect, but this is also correct. Tripura initially, when the constitution came into effect, was a Part C state, and then it became a union territory, and then finally it became a state. So this is also correct. So you can see that the answer is all three are correct. Then you have, with reference to India, consider the following: Interstate Council, the National Security Council, and Zonal Councils. How many of the above are established as per the provisions of the Constitution of India? So Interstate Council has been clearly mentioned, as you can see in Article 263. Zonal Councils are a creation of a law at 1956 State Reorganization Act. National Security Council is just an executive provision passed through cabinet resolution, which does not have any legal or constitutional basis, so only one is correct. Only the Interstate Council happens to be the constitutional body. Then the next question deals with the power of the governor and the president. The Constitution of India explicitly mentions that in certain spheres of the governor of a state, state acts in his or her own discretion. Now this is absolutely correct. If you read Article 163, it says that the governor generally is expected to work on aid and advice of the council of minister headed by the chief minister, except on those matters where governor is expected to exercise his discretionary powers. Now what are those matters in which the governor is expected to utilize his discretionary power? These are also the governor's discretionary power. So statement number 1 is absolutely correct. The second statement deals with the President of India can of his or her own reserve a bill passed by state legislature for his or her consideration without it being forwarded by the governor of the state concerned. Now that is completely a wrong understanding of Article 200 and 201. In fact, this has been misplayed. Governor first has to exercise his or her discretionary power to reserve the bill for presidential consideration. President cannot override governor, cannot replace the governor, and you know that is why governor becomes extremely crucial. Governor acts as an extended arm of the center at the state, and you can see that through the governor, it is the Home Ministry or the President who try to get as many problematic bills reserved for the presidential consideration. So this is incorrect. Answer is A. Then you have 3 provisions, and then you have to map them with the features. So separation of judiciary from the executive in the public services of the state indeed is a directive principle of the state policy. Valuing and preserving the rich heritage of our composite culture is a fundamental duty, and prohibition of employment of children below the age of 14 in factories is a part of fundamental rights. So all three are, so thank you, sir. I hope this voice is coming out okay. I have been informed by my team members that just wait a second. All right. So consider the following statements with reference to the Constitution of India. If an area in a state is declared as scheduled area under 5th schedule, so we know that another aspect of India's relationship with its territory, there are various modifications that have been done when the central government wants to manage the territory. So you know that the Constitution of India gives a lot of flexibility. So you can, if you have some different demand, you can go to 5th schedule. If your demand is very unique and is contextually very separated from other people, we have 6th schedule option. Then we can go and make temporary and transient provision to give you extra exemption from Article 371 A, B, C, D, E, F. So the Constitution of India goes to any extent to accommodate your regional unique aspirations. So one of the starting point happens to be the 5th schedule provision, where after the territory or the areas inhabited by the scheduled tribes is identified as scheduled areas, the administration of the scheduled areas is a little bit different from the rest of the non-scheduled area in that particular state. So in that regard, with reference to the Constitution of India, if an area is in a state is declared as scheduled area under the 5th schedule, the state government loses its executive power in such areas and a local body assumes total administration. This is absolutely wrong. In fact, when we teach this in class, this is one of the points that we emphasize, that even if a particular area is declared as a scheduled area, it does not loses, the state does not loses the administrative control. So administratively, it continues to be administered by the state government. The union government can take over the total administration of such areas under certain circumstances on the recommendation of the governor. That is also completely a twisted understanding. I mean, this has been framed to, I think this is a very, very easy question for all of you. So then a question not from polity, but we have segregated into the current affairs, the National Automotive Board, the COIR Board, the National Center for Trade and Information, and then you have to map it with the parent ministry. The answer is D. You can read the solution. There is nothing that I need to explain. Then you have considered the following subjects under the Constitution of India. And then it says, for a constitutional amendment with respect to which of the above, ratification by the legislature of not less than 1/2 of the state is required before presenting the bill to the President of India for assent. So you know that under the provisions of Article 368, there are two kinds of provisions that are provided to amend the constitutional text. Now, one of is 2/3 and half majority, which is required to amend most of the provisions of the Constitution of India. But there is another proviso which says that if you want to tweak with election of the president, extent of the executive power of the union and the state, union and state legislative powers, any of the lists in the 7th schedule, representation of the states in parliament, and if you want to amend Article 368 itself, then apart from the 2/3 and half majority that is required otherwise, you have to send the amendment bill to at least half of the state legislative assembly. They should assent the bill. So you have to send it to everyone, but at least half of them should assent. And you can see, if you notice, this is what decentralization of power looks like. That unilaterally neither the center nor the states can alter the Constitution of India on their own. And this has been done so that the parliament, utilizing its power to amend the constitution, should not be able to change or alter the center-state division of power. And you can look at them, all of them deal with the distribution of power between the center and the state. And so the question is, which of these provisions require the special amendment procedure? So list 1 of the union list definitely requires such a provision. Then extent of the executive power of the state does require constitutional amendment. And then conditions of the governor office is not mentioned here. Only if you want to change the power of the states, that the executive power of the governor, if it has to be changed, then you require assent by half of the states. Whereas for the condition of the governor office, the condition is located in Article 158. For changing the condition of the governor's office, you do not require it to be assented by half of the state legislative assemblies. And so this is incorrect. 1 and 2 only. Answer would be A. Then you have, with reference to Indian polity, consider the following statements. The governor of a state is not answerable to any court for the exercise and performance of the powers and duties of his or her office. No criminal proceeding shall be instituted or continued against the governor during his or her term of office. And members of state legislature are not liable to any proceedings in any court in respect of anything said within the office. All three are correct. All three are literally as it is provided in the constitution in different articles. Article 361 clause 1, Article 361 clause 2, and Article 194 clause 2. Exactly. So these words have been taken directly sourced from verbatim source from the actual Bayer Act. So, I mean, just reinforcing the same point as to for polity, the understanding of Bayer Act is so important. And then you have question with respect to Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, PNGRB, and it says how many of the above activities are regulated. So when it comes to the regulation, nothing that has to deal with the production of oil or natural gas is dealt by PNGRB. It is only a downstream regulator, not an upstream regulator. So in that sense, production of crude oil and production of natural gas is not something that is regulated. Refining is regulated, marketing is regulated. So the answer is only two. That is the answer. It should be only so A, B, C. It should have been C, where the answer is. So I hope that I have been able to make things clear. If you have any doubt, you can ask us in the chat section, or you can just basically comment and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And now I'd like to invite Gaurav Sir, who will take on from me and would discuss geography and environment. Gaurav Sir.
Thank you. Hi. Without wasting much time, let us begin this thing. So, this was the question which from which we are starting, and the question basically talked about. So there were three statements. Statement one is saying the studies indicate that carbon dioxide emission from cement industry account for more than 5% of the global carbon emissions. So from the explanations also you can see that we have quoted the World Economic Forum's report, and which says that it was around 8% of the emissions. Statement one is correct. Second is silica bearing clay is mixed with limestone while manufacturing cement. Now this statement is also correct. So abhi usko apne dimag mein rakhte hain. This statement is correct. Statement 3 says limestone is converted into lime during clinker production for the cement manufacturing. This statement is also correct. The question asks you that which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements, and then there are 4 options. Now if you see this question, there are 3 statements. Changing trend of UPSC questions we can see, because last year we have seen that few questions were there which had 3 statement based questions were there, but this year there are many questions which are having 3 statements. So if you closely see, statement 2 is correct, statement 3 is correct, but when you see the explanation that higher emissions are there in the cement industry and which reasons explain this, statement 2 basically, this mixing of silica is basically known to reduce the GHG emissions. So that is why this statement is correct, it is used, but it reduces the GHG emission, and therefore the statement 2 does not explain it. Statement 3 explains this, because when you go to this process of converting, and limestone is being used to convert and the clinker production is there, so there is a huge greenhouse gas emission is there, and basically this is responsible for more than 50% of the greenhouse gas emissions in this industry. This explains this particular statement 1, but statement 2 does not explain it, and therefore the correct answer is B. Moving to the next question, again we are having 3 statements, statement 1, 2 and 3. And this was the question which was discussing in the initial introduction of the session, that the UPSC asked the question from COP 28, and if you will see, there are few questions in IR section also which they have asked from the current affairs which were there in 1 to 2 years back. Rahul Puri sir will be discussing them. We were discussing about that question also. But yeah, so UPSC didn't ask about COP 29, they asked about COP 28. But again, those who have in the classes, who have attended my classes, so there we discussed that we need to get aware about at least 3 COPs, that is COP 27, 28 and 29. Okay. Okay. So statement 1 says that at the COP 28, India refrained from signing the declaration on the climate and health. Now this is a factual statement. It is correct. India refrained from signing this initiative, and the reason basically was the one which is given in statement 3, that if India decides to sign this particular declaration on climate and health, India said that it will not be practical as of now, given the present resources and the growth stage in which India is presently existing. It will not be practical enough for us to go for the carbon emission cuts, because India said, this is an official stance of India, India said because a lot of cooling infrastructure is required for the development of vaccine, drugs and all those things. So that was the reason that statement 3, which says that if India's health sector is decarbonized, the resilience of its healthcare systems may be compromised. This is correct, and this explains this statement 1. But statement 2 says that the COP28 declaration on the climate and health is a binding declaration. So this is incorrect. It is basically a non-binding declaration, right? So that is why statement 2 is incorrect, and hence we get the answer C. Next question is, again we are having 3 statements, 1, 2 and 3. So some students have felt this, that these 3 statement based questions become lengthy also, because generally we have the habit of having 2 statements, 1, 2, both the statements are correct and second explains the one or not, that sort of pattern. But when we see these questions, obviously these are pretty lengthy questions and the options are also a bit different from the conventional ones. So reading the questions might be one small difficulty, but attempting or answering the question will not be a difficult one. Statement 1 says, scientific studies suggest that there has been a shift in the Earth's rotation and its axis. This is true. This also we discussed that when we were discussing about the rotational axis, tilted axis, we saw that how Earth's tilted axis also gets changed in the due course of time. So this statement is right. Second statement says that solar flames and associated CMEs, that is coronal mass ejections, bombarded the Earth's outermost atmosphere with tremendous amount of energy. This statement is also correct. So yes, it happens. Statement 3 says, as the Earth's polar ice melts, the water tends to move towards the equator. Now this is also correct. So because this has been in the context of climate change and the cryospheric melting which we talk about, and because of which there is a change, the ice is getting melted, the sea level is rising. Basically this leads to alteration in the mass distribution of the Earth, which is one of the factors responsible for this tilt. But when you see the second statement, this statement is true, but it does not explain the statement 1. Coronal mass ejections, we have read about the Van Allen radiations of the Earth. We have read about those polar nights and lights which we talk about. So solar flares and coronal mass ejections have their impact in magnetic field, have their impact on atmosphere, but they do not impact, their impact is not that much that they will alter the Earth's rotation and its axis. Okay, so this does not explain this. However, the statement is true. This statement is true and also explains the statement once, and therefore we get the answer as B. Moving to the next thing. Yeah. And as it is going, so again we are having 3 statements. This statement has come in the context of climate change Paris Agreement, specifically Article 6. Now those again who attended the classes, we discuss about this particular fact that there are around 6 to 7 important article numbers in the Paris Agreement. Article 2, Article 4, Article 6, Article 14. And there we saw that you have to memorize, and Article 6 being the most important one, because it is talking about the carbon market, one of the much debated topics and one of the most essential tools when it comes to mitigating the climate change impacts. Statement 1 says that Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on climate change is frequently discussed in the global discussions on the sustainable development and climate change. Obviously, that is why we were discussing this in the class also. Na? अगर ये नहीं होता तो हम क्लास में क्यों बात करते? This statement is correct. Statement 2 says Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on climate change sets out the principles of carbon markets. Yes, so there Article 6.2 and Article 6.4, the most important articles. So this statement is also correct. Statement 3 says Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on climate change intends to promote inter-country non-market strategies to reach their climate targets. So Article 6.2, if you remember, we discussed, basically talks about the bilateral carbon market, and it promotes market-based as well as non-market-based strategies. For example, technological interchanges, information interchanges. So those are also the part of the carbon market, and this is correct. And if you closely see that statement 2, that because it is talking about carbon market, and statement 3, because it is talking about the mechanisms in which we can have it, both of these statements, because of these statements only, this thing is being discussed at the global, at the multi-level platforms, and hence both of these statements explains this statement 1. All the 3 correct and the correct explanation of statement 1, hence the correct answer is A. Next, moving toward the direct air capture technology, one of the geoengineering based technologies which we are trying to use in order to fight climate change. So question is asking that which of the following statements are true in respect of DACs. 1. It can be used as a way of carbon sequestration, yes, because you can directly take the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and then you can sequester it into the deep geological formations. So, okay, statement 1 is right. It can be a valuable approach for plastic production and in food processing. Now, when we see this particular statement, once you have taken out the carbon dioxide and you have stored it in the deep geological formations, which means now you can use the CO2 also. Na? It is saying it can be. So, whether there is a possibility or not. Okay. So, when we saw some of the research papers, they came up with this particular finding that once you have stored the carbon dioxide, it can be then used in multiple purposes, including production of plastic, including food processing, and in the aviation sector to come up with the synthetic fuel. So, this is synthetic low carbon fuel. So, all of these three are basically the uses which can be which can be used by the stored carbon dioxide in the deep geological formations. So, answer is C, that is 1, 2 and 3, all the statements are correct. Next question. Now, this was one of the question which we can say that it was a species based question. And again, as the trend goes, so I will consider this one obviously as a difficult one because this is not one of the common species which we generally study, but fine. Those who have studied it, so congratulations, you have gained 2 marks. Those who have not studied it, fine. So इसमें नहीं आएगा तो कहीं और से आ जाएगा. But those who have not studied it and attempted it and they got this wrong, so then that obviously is a problem. So there are 3 statements, 1, 2 and 3 in relation to peacock tarantula. Statement 1 says that it is an omnivorous crustacean. Now this statement is incorrect because it is not a crustacean, right? It is an arachnid native. So it is not a crustacean species, it is not there in aquatic environment. So this one is incorrect. Second says its natural habitat in India is only limited to some of the forest areas. So mostly this species, the natural habitat of this species is generally the deciduous areas, or sometimes it can be passed in semi-evergreen areas also. So that is why these are generally found in some patches of the Eastern Ghats, some patches of the peninsular India. So yes, this is correct. Some forest, yeah. In its natural habitat, it is an arboreal species. Now, this is also factually correct statement. It is the normal behavior of this species. So, hence we have first incorrect and then we have 2 and 3 as correct one. So, option D is the right answer. Next one. Statement 1 is a factual statement. Fine. So, carbon dioxide emissions in India are less than 0.5 ton CO2s per capita. So we have given the explanation that it was not 0.5 ton carbon dioxide per capita. So there was a report by IEA which said that it stands at 1.77 ton as CO2. But theek hai, I can understand that we might not be aware about this data. So just leave this statement. 2 is saying in terms of carbon dioxide emissions from fuel combustion, India ranks second in Asia Pacific region. This is a statement correct. This we could have guessed also. Third is electricity and heat producers are the largest sources of CO2 emissions. Now remember, in the classes we came up with one pie chart which discussed about that electricity and heat are the major areas because of which we are having one of the largest GHG emissions. So this is correct. वो red color का एक वो बना हुआ था where I discussed about my color blindness also. So this one is right. ठीक है? So the correct answer is C, that is 2 and 3 only are the correct answer. If in the options you see, so there is a D option, I guess this is 1, 2 and 3 should be here. So if you are not aware about statement 1, so then obviously there can be some difficulty. But so this is as it is. In the factual questions, you cannot apply some concepts. Now come to this question, question number 19 of subject B. So basically there are some plant species and then there are descriptions about them. So in this, the 4th and 5th, that is mint, which is not an annual shrub, it is one perennial, and second it is herb. And papaya is not a woody shrub. So these 2 are incorrect and rest of the 3 are correct. So that is why only 3, that is B will be the right answer. Next. So again, we are having 3 statements. You have to tell me that which of these statements are correct. So statement 1 talks about that rainforests produce more oxygen than produced by ocean. Now this statement is factually incorrect. around 50 to 60% of the this oxygen release is taken by the oceans only. It is given by oceans, not the rainforest. And what is the explanation for this? Because in the oceans, when we talk about phytoplanktons, which is the next statement also, so phytoplanktons are responsible for generating around 50 to 60% of the oxygen. Okay, so that is why this is incorrect. Second, marine phytoplanktons and photosynthetic bacteria produce about 50% of the world's oxygen. This is right. Third is well oxygenated surface water contains several folds higher oxygen than that in the atmospheric air. So yes, so answer right will be the B1, 2 only. You are not having any options as 2 and 3. तो ये है नहीं, even if you are not aware about this, but you are aware about statement 1 and 2, ये अपने को पता होता है generally. So from this information you could have marked this answer as B. Fine. Next, Andes Mountains, global maps. अब ये भी बहुत बार पूछा गया था क्लास में कि सर ग्लोबल मैप्स कैसे करने हैं, वर्ल्ड मैप्स कैसे करने हैं. सो अगेन देयर वी डिस्कस दैट एटलीस्ट फ्रॉम द फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी पर्सपेक्टिव जस्ट द इंपॉर्टेंट मेजर फीचर्स लाइक Rockies Mountains, Andes Mountains, they are spread Himalayas, etc. ये एक बेसिक आप करके जा सकते हैं, and then rest leave it to luck. If the question might come from the major physiological feature, then physiographic feature, then obviously you could have answered. Otherwise, fine. So this is in relation to the Andes Mountains and through which of these countries pass. So Andes Mountains primarily pass through these 7 countries. You can see in the explanation the names of those countries: Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Again, a factual question. So the answer is C, right? Out of these options. Next. There are names of 3 lakes. Through which of these lakes equator pass or equator does not pass? So through none of these lakes equator passes. So किसी से भी नहीं करता है, and hence none is the answer. So this is again a factual statement. So Lake Tanganyika, Tonle Sap, these 2 lakes are generally which we read about, we know. यहाँ पे एक डिफिकल्टी हो सकती है, those who do not know about Potos Lagoon, तो ठीक है उनको नहीं हो सकता है, fine. But so again a factual question, so you cannot do much in this. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. Yeah, so this was in relation to turmeric, relation to the export, producer and consumer of turmeric. So India is the largest producer and exporter of turmeric in the world. Factual statement correct. And India, yes, it grows around 30 varieties of the turmeric. Again, explanation यहाँ पे दिया, so you can read it, right? So as per the National Turmeric Board itself, there are around 30 varieties of the turmeric grown in India. So this statement is also correct. And when we see the growing areas of India, so generally we have Telangana, Maharashtra, Karnataka, that is the peninsular portion, southern India portion. So here we have higher turmeric presence. All these statements are correct, hence D. Okay, it is not written here, so D will be the answer. Yeah? Next. Which of the following are the evidences of the continental drift theory? After so many years in prelims, we have seen the question from the first chapter of geomorphology, that is continental drift. Because generally we see that in mains, the question do come from the continental drift and plate tectonics and all that sort of thing. But in prelims, generally it does not come. So, ये मुझे याद है, I told this thing in the class also. So, but this time the question came, but it is a relatively very simple question. पहला lecture है geomorphology का, that what are the important evidences? ये तो स्कूल में भी पढ़ते थे, that you just have a jigsaw fit theory and you see that the similarities in the rock structure, rock age, rock composition, similarities of the shapes, you can fit all the puzzles together. So on the basis of this, yes, we know that all these statements, 1, 2 and 3, all these statements are correct. Gondwana sediments of India, yes, it is found in 6 land masses in the southern hemisphere, including Madagascar, Africa, Antarctica, Falklands. So in 6 land masses you find it. Basic question. So again the answer is C, that is 1, 2 and 3. Next. So here we are having statement 1 and statement 2. The question asks you the amount of direct NCERT based question. ये तो याद होना चाहिए और गलत भी नहीं होना चाहिए. NCERT based question, class 11th NCERT, fundamentals of physical geography. And this we discussed in the classes also. We discussed this in 2 relations. One, that how the dust is spread across different latitudinal zones, and how water vapors are spread into different latitudinal zones. Remember, we came up with that thing that equatorial area, then polar area, relative humidity concept. अगर याद आया हो तो, अगर पेपर में भी याद आया हो तो. Okay, statement 1 is the amount of dust particles in the atmosphere is more in subtropical and temperate areas than in the equatorial and polar regions. So yes, dust is more in subtropical and temperate areas because these areas have relatively dusty conditions. When you go to the equatorial or the polar areas, because here we know that in equatorial areas you are having a lot of rainfall, lot of precipitation in form of rainfall. In polar area, again you are having a lot of precipitation, just a different form, that is snowfall. But because both areas are having precipitation, so the dust obviously will get settled down, and therefore subtropical and temperate areas have more dry wind. So this is incorrect, and therefore the answer will be C, that statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is not correct, it is incorrect. Next, फिर से. Now this question is, I think that this has become one of the favorite areas of UPSC. Last year, or I guess last year, this question again, the bending of isotherms when we move from ocean to land, from land to ocean in northern hemisphere versus southern hemisphere. We drew the diagram in the classes also. So ठीक है, ये just a basic concept from the NCERT. So statement 1 is, in the month of January in the northern hemisphere, the isotherms bend equatorwards while crossing the landmass and polewards while crossing the ocean. Then is statement 2, in January, the air over the ocean is warmer than that over the landmass. So basically here you get the logic of differences in the specific heat of the oceans as well as of the land. So because there is difference in specific heat, their cooling and their warming rate are different, because of which we are having this and because of which we are having this. Both the statements are correct, and the statement 2 is also the correct explanation of statement 1. Simple question, A will be the answer. Next, 3 statements, 1, 2 and 3. Statement 1 says, in the context of the effect of water on rocks, chalk is known as a very permeable rock, whereas clay is known as quite an impermeable or least permeable rock. नहीं आता है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, just wait for it. Statement 2, chalk is porous and hence can absorb water. नहीं आता है, कोई problem नहीं, just wait a minute. Yeah, so I am back, just it was a small thing, so we'll continue this thing. We were saying that statement 2, chalk is porous and hence can absorb water. Nahi pata hai, leave it. Statement 3, it is saying clay is not at all porous. Now clay generally, I can understand that we do not read about chalk in GS, but yes, we do read about clay when we read about soil, when we talk about black soil, when we talk about the composition of these soils, when we talk about loamy soil, silty soil, clayey soil, sandy soil. So there we have something related to clay. From that discussion, we can say clay is not at all porous. Ye nahi hoga. Clay has porosity. The quality of the clay is that clay is relatively impervious. Now, can you remember that lecture where we discussed about the difference between porosity and permeability? It might not be true that a soil is more porous than it has to be more permeable. And vice versa is also not true, that if it is more porous that it will be less permeable. Anything can happen because it depends. For example, in clay is a porous thing, but the pores are arranged in such a manner that it hinders the movement of water and hence it becomes impervious. So if you understand that statement 3 is incorrect, so out of all these options, can you come to the option number C, that only one of these statements 2 and 3 is correct, and that explains the statement 1, because we know that out of these 2 statements, one statement is incorrect. You are not getting any other option for that. Are you getting it? So that is how you could have come to this particular thing. But ठीक है, अगर थोड़ा सा confusion हुआ है, fine, no matter. I won't say that this is an easy question. No, it's not. Next, Without the atmosphere, basic school classes, अगर atmosphere नहीं होता तो क्या होता? So without the atmosphere, temperature would be well below the freezing point because it is the presence of the gases in the atmosphere which trap them. We have read about the heat budget in the high classes and during UPSC preparation, लेकिन school में भी हमने ये पढ़ा है. So it is because of those gases in the atmosphere which trap the radiations and try to maintain that temperature and makes the Earth as a livable planet. So yes, this is correct. Heat absorbed and trapped by the atmosphere maintains our average temperature. Yes, atmospheric gases like CO2 are particularly good at absorbing and trapping radiation. So yes, answer is C, that is all the statements are correct. Fine. Next. So here we are having statement 1 and statement 2 related to the rare earth elements. Statement 1 says that some rare earth elements are used in the manufacturing of flat television screens and computer monitors. In fact, those mobile phones, this display, this large screen, this camera, so all of these things are having the presence of rare earth elements. Why? Because of their phosphorescent properties. Right? So you can see in the explanation also that there are multiple applications because of these properties in the rare earth elements. They are, for example, including the LED lighting, display screens, even in some anti-counterfeiting inks also it is used. So both the statements are correct and statement 2 explains the statement 1, hence A will be the right answer. ठीक? This I will say that it was an easy question. अब ये तो artificial rain. We all know silver iodide and potassium iodide. So iodides are there. So A will be the right answer. Next, we are having two statements. Statement 1, a factual statement. So ठीक है, अगर आता है तो आता है. This paper was relatively factual. We have seen this in the other subject areas also. A lot of factual questions do have come. Statement 1, of the two major ethanol producers, that is Brazil and US in the world, it says that Brazil is the largest one. Brazil comes first. No, that is why this is incorrect. US comes first. And when the statement 1 is incorrect, so you are just having option D, just one option in which it says that option 1 is not correct. But again, this is a factual thing. So if you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, you don't know it. I was having the Google, so I could have searched for this, so I can come up with this answer. Like during the exam, if you don't know this fact, then fine. ठीक है. If you know this fact, then बहुत अच्छी बात है. वहाँ पे Google नहीं था. Yeah. Okay. Next, wet bulb temperature. Now, wet bulb temperature is one of those topics which was mentioned in the booklet, if you have read about it. So it says that World Bank warned, there was some report, it says the main question starts from that if it is exceeding the routine temperatures. So forget about wet bulb also, that it is saying that routinely it is exceeding 35 degrees Celsius. So can we understand? I don't know about this report, I don't know about wet bulb temperature, let us assume this thing. But if it is talking about the increasing temperature, so can I assume कि temperature तो बढ़ ही रहा है तो गर्मी तो बढ़ ही रही है. Now, statement 1 says peninsular India will most likely suffer from flooding, tropical cyclones and droughts. So yes, when the temperature is rising, you can have droughts, you can have cyclones, you can have floods. Statement 2 says that survival of the animals, including the humans, will be affected as the perspiration will be impacted. So when you increase a lot of temperature, when there is high humidity in your surrounding, so obviously sweating becomes relatively difficult. एक range है in which the body can sweat. Beyond that, no. So both the statements are correct and hence the option C is the right answer. Again, this, despite the fact that you don't know wet bulb temperature, but this question is one of those questions which comes under a calculated risk category. So you could have taken this risk. Next. How many of the above countries have more than 4 time zones? Now this is one of the questions which I want to tell you. Here we have marked answer as B, that is 4 countries out of them. But the only thing is that because we do not know that whether their external territories have to be taken along with the countries or not. Logically, it should be taken. For example, United Kingdom. So if you take only the United Kingdom, that small island, there is one time zone. But when you take all the external territories of UK, then the time zones rise to 9. Similarly, Denmark, when you see Denmark as a small country, but then you see Greenland, large continent under Denmark, so there also time zones increase. New Zealand, Australia, Brazil. Brazil is having 4 time zones. Ab yahan par bhi there is one thing. Question is asking you, how many of the above countries have more than 4 time zones? Brazil is having 4 time zones. Logically, it should not come under, because it is not having more than 4 na. So more than 4 pucha hai, so this should be eliminated. When we talk about Australia, so again you see the sources, because we were having Google, so we researched this thing. So Australia's mainland is having 3 time zones, but when you see the other territories of Australia, for example Cocos Island and other islands, then the time zone in Australia also increased to around 7 to 9 time zones. Same is true with New Zealand also. New Zealand having 2 time zones on the mainland, and then when you see small territories, small islands, there the time zones again further increase. So if we take all the external territories, then the answer should be 4. Just Brazil would be eliminated. If we are taking only the mainland, then the answer would differ. So that is why for this, we will see that how the UPSC will come up with the answer. Just few days back, we have seen the answer key of the UPSC also. ठीक है, अगले साल फिर देख लेंगे. So this is fine. So we presently now we are giving option B as the right answer. Okay. Now this question, despite the fact that you are not aware about the names of these towns, Nome and Anadyr, but they are mentioning the region now. They are mentioning Siberia and they are mentioning Alaska. So if this is Siberia and if this is Alaska, here you are having Bering Strait, you are having international date line. So obviously we can understand that when you will be crossing, one place is here, one place is here. So obviously there will be a change of day. And so this one will be correct. Having the breakfast. See the language of the question. Khana kha rahe ho, pani aake ja raha hai. The question few years back, Chandipur. So see the language of the UPSC question. So fine, okay. Statement 2 says that when it is Monday in Anadyr, it is Tuesday in Nome. So basically it is asking you that when you move, let's say in this direction, or you move in this direction, the day, so for example here it was Monday, here it was Monday, and then you are moving here, so whether there will be Sunday or Tuesday, the basic concept of international date line. So on the basis of this, this one is incorrect because it is oppositely given. If it was Monday here, then it has to be Sunday here, or vice versa. If it is Monday here, then it has to be Tuesday there. Okay, so this one is incorrect, and hence option A will only be the right answer, because areas to the west of the date line are the 1 calendar day ahead of the areas of the east. So here you are having Monday, here you will be having Tuesday. Fine, answer is A. Next, resource distribution question, but this is relatively easy one, because we generally read about diamond, lithium and nickel. Diamond and nickel, so these are the conventional topics, and lithium, we talk about it in the context of the current affairs. So we know that we have ABC triangle, Argentina, Bolivia and Chile. So for lithium, you are having Chile, that is correct. For Botswana, very famous for diamond, we know this movie bani hui hai iske upar to. And then for Indonesia, yes, we have nickel. All these three pairs are correctly matched related to the resource distribution. So C will be the answer. But a factual thing, but this is an easy fact. इसमें I cannot say कि अगर नहीं आता है तो कोई बात नहीं, क्यों नहीं आता है? आना चाहिए ये वाला question. So this was an easy one. Yeah. Next. Okay, so it is from the map again. You have to see the cities and the countries. All these are incorrectly matched. Because when we talk about Sardinia, so Sardinia is in Italy, Normandy is in France, and Mallorca is in Spain. So none will be the right answer. Okay? Okay, fine. So that was all for geography and environment sections. We have seen that around 24 to 25 questions have come. But here we have seen the factual and conceptual, both type of questions have come. So ठीक है, it was not that difficult, it was moderate. Now we will be moving towards the IR section. So Rahul Puri sir will be coming. Just allow me to skip these slides to the IR section. Just a minute. Yeah. So here we are having IR section. So Puri sir, आइए.
Hello everyone. So those who are sitting live, I'm sure you all will be very exhausted. So I guess there was 8 questions from this module of IR, more than expected. 8 to 9 questions were there from IR. So both conceptual and factual was there from the IR section. So first question was directly factual question. If you know, then you know it. If you don't know it, this should, I hope you should not have guessed it. So which one of the following launched the Nature Solution Financial Hub for Asia and the Pacific? You cannot guess this this answer. If you know this, then you could have marked it. If you do not know this, it is difficult to mark it. So it was a very factual question. Okay. So why in the beginning also I said it is always difficult to predict the cutoff. The reason being there are 2 questions in this module of IR for which we are not very sure what answer UPSC will going to make it correct. I'll discuss these 2 questions. So there are 2 questions from the module for which one question according to me is very ambiguous and the question itself is ambiguous, and the other in which all 3 options are right but UPSC has not given the option. Another factual question, difficult to attempt. I'll consider this question a bit difficult considering the kind of pressure we have in the examination hall, that out of this, how many of the above members are the part of NATO? NATO was in the news, so there could be questions like on NATO, where is the headquarter, when it was constituted, but they asked that how many of the above members of the, how many are the members of NATO? So answer is, there are 4 members of NATO. Difficult to remember the list. The most recently joined NATO members, this could have been the question that who are the most recently joined. That is, Sweden has joined it recently and Finland has joined it recently. So earlier it was 30 member block, now it is 32 member block. They could have, if they would have asked, NATO is a military alliance which is the outcome of the concept of collective defense or something on collective security, that would have been a conceptual question, but the way they have asked, it's a very factual question. So nothing technical in this. If you know, you know it. You need to cram it. So then question came on BIMSTEC in news. So you can say it is you can see this question as a part of current affairs. Earlier in many of my videos, I said for sure this year you can expect a question on BIMSTEC and BRICS, and exactly the question has come on BIMSTEC and BRICS because PM Modi has recently attended the BIMSTEC summit. So regional organization consisting of 7 member states. Right statement, BIMSTEC is SAARC minus Pakistan, Afghanistan, way to remember it, plus Thailand, Myanmar. So it's a 7 member state. It came into existence with the signing of Dhaka Declaration, false statement. Okay, they are the founding member states. No, Nepal joined it later. And tourism is led by India. Yes, this sector is led by India. So the correct answer is 1 and 4. So again, factual questions, simply remembrance of the facts. But prediction came true that there can be a question on BIMSTEC this year. Right? Again, a factual question, direct statement based question. Again, we can keep this question under IR and current affairs both. Okay, that AI Action Summit in news because PM Modi attended it, co-chaired with India. Event built on the Blanky Summit which held in 23 and Seoul Summit, Artificial Intelligence Action Summit. Okay, US and UK has also signed. It was in the news. This statement was, there was a lot of emphasis on this news that US and UK has also signed this, and it was co-chaired by India and France. So PM Modi and the French president, they both attended this. That is why this answer, both the statements are correct, self-explanatory, because all these, both the statements came multiple times in news. That is the AI Action Summit. And now BRICS, expected topic on which UPSC has asked this question because the 17th summit of BRICS took place, right? 16th summit held in Russia, Kazan 2024. Yes, so true. This is right. Now consider the statement with regard to BRICS. UPSC has not asked this question that consider the statements with regard to 16th summit of BRICS. It is not written. Neither they have asked consider the following statement with regard to 17th summit. Nothing of this. They have said consider the statements with regards to BRICS. And in the 16th summit held in Russia, so this is the correct statement. Indonesia has become a full member of BRICS. Yes, it has become a full member in the 17th summit. Nowhere it is written in the option that Indonesia has become a member in the 17th summit, or if the option would have been Indonesia became a member in the 16th summit, then it would have been wrong. So this is also the right statement. And the theme of the 16th summit was this? Yes, the theme was this only. So all these three statements are right, and there is no option which says all three statements are right. So all three statements are right, and that is why I am saying this is UPSC has not given any option to mark all three are right. So this is totally ambiguous question which UPSC has asked on BRICS. Though factual aspects has asked, but all three statements are right, but there is no option for this, right? Another factual question: which organization has enacted the Nature's Restoration Law to tackle climate change? So this question can be a question of IR, summits, funds, okay, events, important organizations. So the organization who has enacted this fund is EU, European Union. Factual concept. Important question in news: INSTC, International North-South Transport Corridor. In news multiple times: joint initiative of Russia, India, Iran. Another ambiguous question, because options are ambiguous and I am not sure which option UPSC will going to take it. The correct one for this we need to wait for the key, and that is why I always say it becomes very difficult to have a right prediction of the cutoff list. So do not go into these deliberations. Now those who have attended this, now International North-South Transport Corridor, it connects India to Central Asia, to Europe via Iran. This is also right. It connects India to Europe through Azerbaijan. This is also right. But more appropriate, according to me, is the first one. Answer should be A. Though there is a bit of, while sitting in the examination hall in a hurry, student could have marked D, and there can be confusion between option A and option D. But the more appropriate one is option A, India to Central Asia to Europe via Iran. Okay, so there is bit of ambiguity in this question also. Then came IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. IBRD, I am sure all of you are well aware of this. IBRD is part of World Bank. Okay, there are two organizations of World Bank, IDA and IBRD, right? So first statement for sure is 100% right. It provides loan to middle income countries. It was established to rebuild Europe after the end of Second World War. Now, it works single-handedly. This word is the reason why this statement is wrong. It works to help developing countries to reduce poverty. This would have been right. But it single-handedly help developing countries to reduce poverty. No, there are many other institutions and organizations who are involved in the same objective, that is Asian Development Bank, New Development Bank or BRICS Bank for the development of Global South. Okay. So BRICS Bank or New Development Bank give loans for the development of Global South. So this is not the only organization who is involved in reducing poverty in these countries. So first and the third is right, and that is why C is the right option for this. So these many questions were there from IR, in which you can clearly see there are two ambiguous questions which I have discussed. So here we are done with the module of IR. So let's go to the next module of our discussion, that is the economy module. Okay, so economy section. Raja sir will going to discuss the economy section. So both Raja sir and Pramod sir will take the economy section.
Welcome to the economy section discussion. Let's start with question number 31. Question number 31. With reference to investments, consider the following: bonds, stocks, hedge funds, venture capital. How many of the above are treated as alternative investment funds? See, what are alternative investment funds? In fact, these are collective investment pooling schemes which pool money from multiple investors. In fact, this is just like any other mutual fund scheme. But the only difference is that in these alternative investment funds target high net worth individuals. That means they collect investment from multiple high net worth individuals and they make risky investments, like investments in hedge funds, venture capital funds. Venture capital funds invest in these startups at a very early stage. And you might have heard about angel funds. Angel funds also do the same thing. They invest in the startups at a very early stage, thinking about looking at its growth perspectives down the line. Okay. So alternative investment funds are those investment funds which are recognized by SEBI under three categories: category 1, category 2 and category 3 alternative funds. They include hedge funds. That means those funds which keep their investment in risky projects, but the returns are very high, pretty high. But the risk, they target high net worth individuals whose risk appetite is very high. Okay, so option 3 and option 4, like the hedge funds and venture capital funds, are alternative investment funds, but investment in bonds and stocks are not considered as alternative investment funds. That means if any individual is directly investing in a bond or directly investing in any share of a company, that is not considered as an alternative investment. Okay, so the answer is, how many of the above treated as alternative investment funds? Only 2. B is the answer. Next, question number 32. Which of the following are the sources of income for the Reserve Bank of India? See, this question was asked in the backdrop of increasing debate about the dividend payments by RBI to the government. If you see, in the last 2 to 3 years, the RBI has been giving very significant amount of money to the government as in the form of dividends. Even just yesterday, a day back, RBI has provided more than 2 lakh crores of money in the form of dividends to the government. So obviously, the question would arise as to how and where the money is coming from. That means how the RBI is earning money, how the RBI is earning income. So let's discuss about the sources of income for RBI. Reserve Bank of India, being the apex bank and central bank in India, it discharges certain functions that were given to it as per RBI Act 1934. So you might have heard about this act. Okay, under this act, RBI is given with certain functions. The first and foremost function is it is a banker to the banks. That means as a lender of last resort, it provides loans to the banks which do not get loan or credit support anywhere else. So if a bank doesn't get loan in the market, it goes to the Reserve Bank of India. Then Reserve Bank of India is going to give long-term loans to these kind of banks at bank rate. That bank rate is the source of income for the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, and also that is why. And also, this other function is Regulation of money supply in the market. So as a regulator of money supply in the market, Reserve Bank of India undertakes open market operations. Okay. While undertaking these open market operations, it purchases or sells the government securities. There also it earns some money. It earns some income. That is also a profit of the Reserve Bank of India or income of the Reserve Bank of India. And currency management, that means printing and issuing the currency, and also managing the forex reserves and intervening the global market, intervening the forex market to stabilize the exchange rate value of rupee. All these are the functions that are given to the Reserve Bank of India as per RBI Act 1934. Let us see how it is going to make the money while discharging its functions. See, buying and selling of government bonds. Of course, as per open market operations, it purchases and sells government bonds. However, while buying and selling the government bonds, it makes some certain amount of income as per the interest rates given by the government for the government securities held by the Reserve Bank of India. And also, when a government security is purchased by the Reserve Bank of India and it is sold in the market by the Reserve Bank of India, then the differential in its pricing is going to accrue some benefits to the bank. So that is going to be its capital gain income that is received by the Reserve Bank of India. And second thing, buying and selling of foreign currency. As I told you, Reserve Bank of India is also the stabilizer of exchange rate value of rupee in the market. So from time to time, it sells and purchases the foreign currency. So while selling and purchasing the foreign currency, it makes profit based on the differential payment, differential in terms of the value of the exchange rate, and it takes the advantage and it makes some income or makes some profit out of it. So this is also an income source for the Reserve Bank of India. Now coming to this pension fund management. See, Reserve Bank of India doesn't manage the pension fund. It has nothing to do with the pension fund. It is managed by the finance ministry. So this third option can be eliminated. Lending to private companies. Reserve Bank of India doesn't lend to the private companies. It lends to the banks. Okay. So you can remove fourth one. And fifth, printing and distributing currency notes. Okay. For example, as I told you, issuing currency and distributing currency is the sole, is the responsibility of the Reserve Bank of India. That means RBI is the sole authority to print and issue currency ranging from denominations from 2 rupees notes to 10,000 rupees notes. Okay. While doing it, it earns seniorage income. You might have heard about seniorage income. Seniorage refers to the difference between face value of a currency note or a bank note and its inherent value. What do you mean by inherent value? The value or the cost incurred to print that currency note. For example, let's take the 100 rupees note. The face value of a 100 rupees bank note is 100 rupees, but it might have taken hardly 3 rupees for Reserve Bank of India to print it. So the difference between its face value 100 rupees and its printing cost, that is 3 rupees, is considered as seniorage income. That is an actually income source to the Reserve Bank of India. So this is also a fifth factor, or the fifth element is also a source of income to the Reserve Bank of India. So the answer is 1, 2 and 5. Option D is the answer. Okay. Now question number 33. With reference to the Government of India, consider the following information. It's pretty static and pretty factual. There are 3 different organizations. There are 3 respective functions given under it and how it works under it. Okay. Director of Enforcement doesn't work under Internal Security Division of Ministry of Home Affairs. In fact, it works under Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. So the first one is actually wrong. ED, of course, is going to pursue the cases under Enforcement of Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018. Fugitive economic offenders are those offenders who have committed some economic offense and have fled the country and not cooperating with the investigation. Okay. So who are going to pursue these cases? ED, Director of Enforcement. However, the problem is here. It doesn't work under Ministry of Home Affairs. It works under Ministry of Finance. Okay. So the first one is actually wrong. Second, Director of Revenue Intelligence. Director of Revenue Intelligence, its function is actually to enforce the provision of Customs Act, provision of Narcotics Act, provision of Smuggling Acts. Okay. It also works under Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance, right? and Directorate General of Systems and Data Management. Its function is to carry out data analysis to assist the tax officers to find out the tax evaders. It works under CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. Okay, this is directly under Department of Revenue and Ministry of Finance. So all these three organizations directly come under the Department of Revenue under Ministry of Finance. So the answer is 2 and 3, only 2. Okay. Next. Question number 34. Consider the following statements. The Reserve Bank of India mandates all the listed companies in India to submit a business responsibility and sustainability report. What is this business responsibility and sustainability report? This is a report that is mandated by SEBI, not RBI, Security Exchange Board of India, for all the listed companies. See, generally, the performance of a private company is generally seen in terms of its financial parameters. But there are other aspects which are supposed to be seen with respect to the performance, to judge the performance of a company. Its environmental performance, its impact on the social aspects, its impact on the governance aspects. That means how ethically it is conducting its business. What are the impacts of this, operations of this business over the environment? That means what are the resource conservation plans of this particular company? What is the carbon footprint of this activities undertaken by this company? Okay, how ethical standards are being maintained by the company, how well the company is actually taking care of its employees. Basically, the environmental impact, social impact, and governance impact is also to be performed, is also to be tested. So that is why SEBI has mandated the listed companies to come up with a report, and the report is known as Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. Okay, this report is to be disclosed by listed companies. So first and foremost, this first statement is wrong. It is not Reserve Bank of India, it is SEBI. Second statement, it is in India, a company submitting the BRSRs makes the disclosure in the report that are largely non-financial in nature. Of course, the environmental impact, social impact, governance impact, this report doesn't talk about the financial aspects. So yes, second statement is right. Answer is B. Okay. Next, question number 35. This question is about taxable tax liabilities of agriculture income. Agriculture income, this is a burning topic. Okay, there have been reports, opinions expressed by certain economic experts to bring the agricultural income under under the tax liability. Okay, so in this aspect, in this background, this question was asked. So let us see the first statement. In India, income from allied agricultural activities like poultry farming and wool rearing in rural areas is exempted from any tax. See, first and foremost, in the Income Tax Act 1961, agriculture income is exempted from any tax, exempted from Income Tax Act. Okay. In fact, the agriculture income was properly defined. Agricultural income refers to any income that is generated by the farmer using the agricultural land. For cultivation and other aspects. However, the agriculture income definition does not include these allied activities like poultry farming and wool rearing. I repeat, agricultural income definition does not include poultry farming and wool rearing. That means allied activities are not included. Income generated through allied activities are not included in the definition of agriculture income. And that is why the income generated out of these activities, these allied activities, are not exempted from the income tax. Right? And also, second thing, see, agriculture is a state subject. Being a state subject, agriculture income, states can actually impose certain taxes on the agriculture and its allied activities. So we cannot completely say that agriculture and its allied activities are exempted from any tax. So because of these two reasons, the statement 1 is actually wrong. So if you know that statement 1 is wrong, you can arrive at the answer. But anyways, let's look into the statement 2 as well. In India, rural agricultural land is not considered as a capital asset under the provision of Income Tax Act 1961. See, the same Income Tax Act 1961 defined what are capital assets. See, why to define capital assets? Because for the purpose of imposing capital gains tax, it is very important to define capital assets.
So capital assets definition includes shares, gold and all other assets. In these assets, agricultural land, especially in the rural areas, is not considered as a capital asset. Okay. So hence, capital gains tax is not imposed on transactions of agricultural land. Okay. So as statement 2 is right, but statement 1 is wrong. So the answer is D. Right. Next. 37, question number 37. It is with respect to the bond and bond holders. First of all, before answering this question, let me explain you what is a bond. A bond is a debt instrument issued by any company. That means if you are purchasing the bond issued by any entity, you are indirectly giving loan to that company. And the bondholder will keep on receiving the interest rates on the bond. And at the time of the maturity, if you redeem the bond, you are going to receive the principal amount. So this is how the bondholder makes money out of it, money out of this investment. Most of the people, most of the retail investors would prefer investing in the bond compared to the shares, because bond is considered relatively risk-free or relatively less riskier compared to a share. What is a share? It is an equity instrument. That means once you purchase the share, you are going to become a partly owner of the company depending upon your investment. It can be 1% or 0.5%. So your rate of returns or your returns in the share, on the share or any equity instrument, depends upon the performance of the company. But if you purchase the bond, you don't have to worry about the performance of the company. So the company is liable to pay you the interest rate, and it is liable to pay you the principal amount at the time of the maturity when you redeem the bond to the original issuer. And also, being a bondholder, you don't have to wait for the maturity period. You can also sell that bond to any other investor in the secondary market. So since it is a negotiable instrument, the ownership can be easily transferred in the secondary market. So whoever the bondholder is, he will continue to receive the interest rate, and he will be able to receive the principal amount at the time of the redemption. So that is why bond is considered as a safer instrument or safer investment compared to shares. Okay. It is less riskier compared to shares. And not only that, whenever a company is defaulted on the payments, either for the creditor, any kind of creditors, then the company may go through liquidation as per Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. So whenever a company goes through liquidation process, that means all its core assets and non-core assets are going to be sold in the market, and whatever the proceeds that are emanated out of it, whatever the proceeds that may be earned out of this selling of these core assets and non-core assets are to be distributed. Distributed among whom? Distributed among the employees, creditors, security creditors, secured creditors, unsecured creditors. Then the company has to follow a process and an order of priority while distributing this income that may emanate out of the liquidation of its assets. This order of priority is considered as waterfall mechanism. And this waterfall mechanism was actually legally mandated under section 53 of Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. Section 53 of Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Right. So in this aspect, the first priority will be given to the creditors, that means lenders. Those lenders who have actually those lenders who have actually taken the security, and unsecured creditors, that means the bondholders who doesn't have, there is no collateral aspect in this argument, in this transaction, and it is followed by shareholders and also equity shareholders. So the preference is given to the bondholders over the shareholders at the time of the liquidation for sake of repayment. So that is also one of the reasons why bond is considered as less riskier investment compared to the share. So for these two reasons, statement 1, look at the statement 1. As regards returns from an investment in a company, generally bondholders are considered to be relatively at low risk than stakeholders. This statement is right. Okay. Why is it? Let's look at the statement 2. Bondholders are lenders to a company, whereas stockholders are its owners. This is also right. Coming to the statement 3, for repayment purpose, bondholders are prioritized over stockholders by a company. We have already discussed it. So statement 1 is correct, and the reasons are pretty much clearly given in statement 2 and statement 3. Hence, statement 1 is right. Both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, and these two statements are correct explanation of statement 1. So the option A is right. Okay. Next. Question number 38. Consider the following statements. India accounts for a very large portion of all equity contracts traded globally, thus exhibiting a great boom. See, what is a option contract? An option contract is a derivative instrument whose performance depends upon the underlying asset. So when we refer to an equity option, we are referring that the underlying asset is actually a stock of company. So the derivative control, the contract option contract holder reserves the right to purchase or sell the underlying asset, thereby making the money, making the profit out of it. Okay. So these derivative contracts have become very much famous in India. In fact, India has become a destination for this option trading. In fact, these derivatives really give good rate of returns to the investors, but the problem is they are pretty riskier. So derivative trading is pretty riskier, but despite that risky nature, in India, most of the retail investors are showing interest over the futures and options trading. Okay. So you might have heard about options trading. Options trading has become a pretty normal in India, unlike in other countries. In fact, as per the report, India trades the largest amount of option contracts in the world. By far, India is the largest option trader in the world. Okay. And not only that, India's stock market has grown rapidly in the recent past, overtaking Hong Kong at the same point of time, at some point of the time, yes, right? Because India has become the world's fourth largest stock market, overtaking Hong Kong in the financial year 23-24. Okay, this is one of the reasons why UPSC has been giving questions from financial markets, because the increasing relevance of stock market for the economy is being reflected in the increasing emphasis given by the UPSC. Okay, and look at this. Increasing penetration of futures and options marketing in India is a cause of concern for the SEBI. Because most of the retail investors do not have proper investment knowledge, and they are ignorant about the negative consequences of trading these highly risk financial instruments. So that is why, to control this risky, to control the risk associated with this trading of options and futures, and also to protect the investors for a sustainable investment strategy, the SEBI has come up with certain norms to tighten SEBI has come up with a certain norms recently, and it has tightened the norms for futures and option trading by raising the entry barrier and making it costly affair for the retail investors to come into the future and option trading. Okay, that means, yes, there is an organization, there is a regulatory body which is concerned about the futures and options trading in India. So the statement, the 3, there is no regulatory body either to warn the small investors about the risk of options trading or to act on the unregistered financial advisor in this regard. This statement is wrong. In fact, SEBI has last year came up with this norms on futures and options trading. So this is about, so the answer is 1 and 2A. Okay. So this is my part, and Pramod Sir is joining the discussion. Welcome, sir.
Welcome students, hope you're doing well. And first of all the students who have given the prelims examination, you've done your part, and take care of yourself, you'll do well. And if you are getting a decent score of anything above 75 plus, then you should start preparing for mains. Either you are through it, because UPSC keys are very unpredictable, the scores might vary, and thereby it is very unrealistic to come to a conclusion right away that if you don't clear if your marks are less, or for that matter, if somebody is saying 1995. So we have to avoid that. Now let's come to the discussion part. I have taken from the Raja sir. So here we have this is a basic question. Circular economy is a very important concept which has been in use in last few years. Now there is a concept of linear economy. Okay, that means use wastage is there. But circular economy is as per the new sustainability concept, where it means that we have to reduce the wastage, we have to reuse and recycle. So there are 5 R of circular economy. The first is reuse, recycle, reduce, refuse, and rethink. So basically reuse. You have to reuse the same resources. So waste reduction has to be focused. Recycling is again a part. Now if you just look around, normally if you are having, let's say, air conditioner or anything, so there is a concept of reusing the material that is already there. Reduce, that means try to use lesser resources to produce the same output. Refuse, say no, and rethink. So circular economy is about reduction of GSDA. Statement 1 is correct here. So reduction of circular economy is reduces the emission of the greenhouse gases. Yes, it is right. As per the concept of sustainability, the idea is to make sure the resources that you have, you are minimizing, and also you are reducing the pollution part. Because today we are living in an era where the economy and environment are intertwined and there is an interdependency. So the resource use has direct correlation with environmental wastage or environmental limitations. So environmental sustainability will depend on how minimally you are able to use the resources and to be able to reduce the wastage, at the same time reduce the emission. So emission of the greenhouse gases is where the focus is also there. So statement 1 is right. Statement 2 reduces, now circular economy reduces the use of raw material. Yes, that is also one of the primary objective. Reduce the use of raw material, and thereby when you are reducing the use of raw material as an input, then you are reducing the resources also. So that way the resources are limited. Remember the first principle of economy, the demands and needs are unlimited and resources are limited. Okay, so thereby this also concept is right statement. Statement 3, circular economy reduces wastage in the production process. Yes, it is also right. How the production process should be, how it should be operationalized, how it should be, efficiency should be brought in, so that the wastage part comes down. And this is also one of the focus in the understanding of production process. So in economy, it is about production, consumption, and distribution of goods and services. So idea is reduce the wastage, reduce the emission, and also reduce the inputs from the wastage. So statement, all three statements are right. Now, but let's see the both statement 2 and 3 are correct, and both of them explain statement A. See, statement A is like a macro set, and statement 2 and 3 are like the micro set. Because if you take the concept of 5R, so statement 2 and statement 3 are the concept related with 5R. And statement 1 is in general also reducing the greenhouse gases, because when you reduce the production process in terms of wastage, that will reduce the greenhouse gases. Also, the use of raw material as the input can also be reduced. So that way, statement 1, 2 are the statement A looks an option which is suitable. Let's see. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct, but none of them explain statement A. Now this is wrong completely, because B definitely explains, statement 1 is explained by statement 2 and 3. Third is only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct, and no, both statements are correct. Already we have seen neither statement 2 is also wrong. So here A is the right answer. Now here you have to read the statement multiple times, interpret it in a time-bound manner, and arrive at the solution. But this was an easy one. Statement 1, anybody who had understanding of basic concept, I had covered this concept in my class also. In my class notes, this concept is there, where I have discussed that. Now coming to the question number 40. Now this is related to budget. So you know that budget, we have receipts and expenditure, right? So receipts are of two types: revenue receipts, and capital receipt. Now capital receipt is again of two types: the borrowing and the non-borrowing. Okay. So if you have such confusion, just make a diagram, simple diagram. Now revenue receipt, tax and non-tax, non-tax and tax. So capital receipt create a liability and cause or reduction in the assets of the government. So capital receipt is about borrowing. So when you borrow, what you do? You create a liability. So when I borrow, I will create a liability. So government borrows from multiple sources. It can borrow internally also. It can borrow externally also. Through internal aspect, government borrows by raising bonds. Okay, government GSECs, the dated securities, long term, or the short term treasury bill can also be a source. Similarly, state have state development loans, cash management bills. So that is how the government is able to borrow, and RBI is the facilitator. RBI is the public debt management agency of the government of India. So statement 1, capital receipt to create a liability, this statement is right, or cause reduction in the asset. When you borrow, so it is also there, you create a liability or you reduce the asset. So this statement is completely right. Okay, or reduction in the assets of the government. Statement 1 is right. Coming to borrowing and disinvestment are the capital, are the part of capital receipt. So in borrowing, we have now. So we have in non-borrowing we have disinvestment. Now remember, what is the difference between capital and revenue received? This is one time. So disinvestment is one time, and so in non-borrowing disinvestment is there. Okay, non-borrowing disinvestment are there, and borrowing is a part of capital received. So both statement, borrowing and disinvestment are capital received. This is also right. Very basic concept from NCERT class 12, chapter number 5, chapter number 5, government budgeting. So this statement is also correct. Interest received on loans. Now remember, revenue received. Interest received on loans creates a liability of the government. Now in terms of the non-tax revenue, now let's come here. So non-tax. So in non-tax, what option do we have? In non-tax, we have interest payments. Interest received. So interest received on loans. Government of India give loans to state government. It gives loans to PSUs. So when Government of India give loans to state government, it will receive interest. So this is the part of income. So interest received on loans create a liability. No. When you get an income, it is not a liability, it's an asset. So it does not create a liability, rather it's an income. In fact, revenue receipt is non-debt creating in nature. Non-debt creating in nature. So it is very natural that interest received, interest payment is a part of expenditure, but interest received from the loans given by the state government to the state government by the Government of India. So Government of India give loans to the state government, and when the Government of India give loans, they will receive interest in return. So that is naturally, that is not a liability, but that is the income of the government. It's like an asset. So statement 3 is wrong, and thereby 1, that is A, 1 and 2 are right. So whenever you have some understanding, just make a diagram and just link with it. Be very clear. The statements have been, you can very easily solve it direct question. But again, you should not make mistakes in such questions. Again, an easy one. Again, the next question. There are 3 questions related to budget. Interestingly, so expenditure. Now let's talk about expenditure. So in expenditure, we have revenue expenditure and capital revenue and capital expenditure. So what is capital expenditure? One time. Revenue expenditure, recurring. Okay. So revenue expenditure is 80,000 crore and revenue receipt is 60,000 crore. Okay. The Government of India also shows a borrowing. So borrowing is 10,000 crore. So borrowing is equal to 10,000 crore. And interest payments are 6,000 crore. Which of the following statements are correct? Revenue deficit is 20,000 crore. So revenue deficit is revenue expenditure minus revenue received. So revenue expenditure minus revenue received. Let's say, so this is revenue expenditure minus revenue received. So it is 20,000 crore. This statement is right. 80,000 minus 60,000 is 20,000 crore. So statement 1 is right. Fiscal deficit is equal to 10,000 crore. So fiscal deficit is nothing but it is equal to borrowing. Right? Logically socho, just imagine yourself, whatever I am borrowing is my deficit. Whatever I am borrowing is my deficit. So what I am borrowing? So my planned borrowing consists of fiscal deficit. So the fiscal deficit is borrowing, and what is borrowing here? 10,000 crore. जो घाटा होगा वही तो borrow करोगे. Whatever is your deficit, you will borrow. So naturally, statement 2 is also right. Then primary deficit. So primary deficit PD equal to fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So primary deficit interest payment is on the old borrowings. So primary deficit shows current year borrowing. Current year borrowings. Again, a very basic conceptual question. When we study budget, again this was covered in my class notes very properly, and we have solved a lot of questions also. So easily you can solve such questions. So primary deficit is 4,000 crore. Okay, so let's see. 10,000 crore minus 6,000 crore is 4,000 crore. Primary deficit, fiscal deficit minus interest payments. So option D, all the 3 statements are correct. Now here you have to do some math. Okay, a lot of people feel that there is calculation, but it is very easy, simple, straightforward. Don't worry about the numbers. That number should not create any kind of fear in your mind that I am not able to do that. So very clearly you can solve the question. All the three statements are right. Easy one, right? Okay, now coming to the question number 75. Again, another question with budget. Country's fiscal deficit stand at 50,000 crore and it is receiving 10,000 crore through non-debt creating capital receipts. So capital received, non-borrowing is 10,000 crore. Country's interest liabilities are 15 or a gross primary deficit. Again, it's like concept is repeated. So primary deficit is equal to fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So this question is repeated. The concept is repeated. Interest payment means interest liabilities. So here again, 50,000. Now this statement is redundant. It has no value, no needed. It is not needed. The country's interest payment liabilities are 1500 crore. So 50,000 crore minus 1500 crore would be 48,500 crore. Again, an easy one, certain one, very simple to the concept. So just have the understanding of the concept. See you can make a diagram. Fiscal deficit minus interest payment means interest liabilities. So answer is again A, very simple. Now this is a tricky one. 15th Finance Commission of India, which of the following statements with regard to recommendation of the 15th Finance Commission is correct? It has recommended a grant of 4,800 crore. Now you don't know the number. Let's see the statement. 41% of the, so Finance Commission has three primary function. The main function is the vertical devolution. So 41% of the net taxes as per this from central government will go to the state government, 41%. So this statement is a generalized statement and is the first statement of the Finance Commission. In the 14th Finance Commission, this was 42%. When Jammu and Kashmir was UT was created as Jammu and Kashmir, at that time the 15th Finance Commission reduced it to from 42% to 41%. So if you look at the statement 2, 45% of the net proceeds of union taxes are to be shared with states. Now, normally if you look at this question, you don't remember such facts. But moment you look at statement 2, you know that statement 2, it is 41%. So statement 2 is wrong. And if you use the elimination method, so statement 2, let's remove statement 2 question. Statement 2 is wrong, statement 2 is wrong, statement 2 is wrong. So you get answer as C. So it is pure elimination. Now a lot of people might feel that, okay, I don't know about the grants, I do not know about this amount, I do not know about, this is again a statement, it reintroduced the tax effort criteria to reward fiscal performance. Yes, all the states which are doing well in the fiscal performance, tax collection or reducing their deficit, state deficit, they are supposed to be rewarded by the Finance Commission. Okay, so statement 1, statement 2 and 4, logically you can solve from your classmates. But statement 1 and 3 is not available even in the, it is very detailed information that is available in the 15th Finance Commission detailed report. But if I use the elimination method, I can easily arrive at the answer. So net proceed is 41%, eliminate 2 and here C is the answer. So you don't have to use your brain. You can usually, you don't have to worry about the information. You can use your brain, eliminate the concept and come and arrive at the answer. So be very clear. See, you have UPSC, even in this question, all are conceptual, application based. Your NCRT's understanding has to be thorough. You can easily solve 10, 11 questions out of 17, 18 questions. Okay. Then question number 78. Now again it's a factual question and normally students should be doing that. RTGS, NEFT payments, we are doing that. And so RTGS means real-time gross settlement. RTGS, real-time gross settlement. For big amount, for bulk amount, you do your RTGS. Is instantaneous, so it is called real time. Yes, real time, so it's an instantaneous payment. And it takes some time to settle, but in the case of NEFT is National Electronic Fund Transfer. NEFT, National Electronic Fund Transfer. So when you do NEFT payment, the payments are done in the slots. So it might take some time. So statement 1 is right. Okay, settlement, it's instantaneous, while in the case of NEFT, it will take time. So statement 1 is right. Real time means on the spot, immediately. In RTGS, customer is charged for inward transaction. So when money is coming in my account, I'll have to be charged. Now this is illogical. For outward, so if I am doing RTGS to you, so I have to pay some amount to the bank. But in your case, you will get the exact amount. Why would you pay for the amount that is coming in your account? So the customer is charged for inward transaction. This is wrong. They are charged for the outward transaction. So if I am making payment to you, I have to pay RTGS fees. But if the amount is coming in your account, you don't have to pay any single penny. So this statement is wrong. While in that case, that is not the case with NEFT. Again, in NEFT, logically in NEFT, no inward and outward payment is there. But some banks do charge NEFT charges. Some banks do charge. Ideally, RBI says that it is not needed. So statement 2 is wrong, very incorrect. Operating hours for RTGS and restricted on the certain days. While RTGS, earlier it was restricted, but RTGS and NEFT, if you look and check it, it is 24/7, 365 days. But banks do close their payment system for operational shutdown, schedule maintenance. But that is something that will not consider. So operating hours for RTGS are restricted on certain days. This statement is again wrong. It is not restricted logically as per the RBI's mandate. So A is the only right option here. So again, this is the factual information you might know because by logic you can find 1 is the answer, and by logic you can eliminate 2. So let's see if you can eliminate 2. So 2, if you eliminate 2, again you have to know whether 3 is right or wrong. Okay. So again, it's a factual question. Either you know or you don't know. Guess. You might get the answer incorrect. So the information is that you can see the answer. Now coming to which of the above? Now UPI has become international, we all know. Okay, and thereby many countries have facilitated UPI as a payment. So recently UAE was in news and France was in news. Bangladesh and Germany are not the part of UPI payments. So 2 is eliminated. 1, this is right, and this is right. Singapore, France and UAE. No, it's a factual question. Either you know or you don't know. Again, only 3B is the answer. Countries where UPI is directly accepted for transactions: Bhutan, Singapore, UAE, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Mauritius and France. It is not allowed in Bangladesh and Germany. So B is the correct answer. So very logically you can arrive at the solution by doing this. Now it's a factual question. Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. So it targets 1 crore household rooftop. Yes, this statement is right. Again, a factual question. Either you know or don't know. If you don't know, don't attempt this question. The Ministry of Renewable Energy aims to impart training on installation, preparation, maintenance and repair of solar at grassroots level. Yes, this is right. The idea is to revolutionize the rooftop solar panel, also to connect with the grid, or independent standalone units. It aims to create more than 3 lakh skilled manpower through fresh skilling. This statement is also right, but for that you need to go to the website of the Government of India. I went to the website and saw these information, and they were, factually the same statement were taken from the government website. So when you're going for a government scheme, make sure that you do that as well. Okay, so in that situation, D is the right answer. All 3 options, 1, 2 and 3 are right. So that completes the economic section. I'll be taking current affairs section also in the end. Now Vineet Sir will come for the history of art. Just wait a few seconds. Vineet Sir will come and he'll be taking history options. Questions.
Okay, friends. So now this time we find that there are 16 questions from history, and almost all questions are doable. So at least 12 or 13 questions, or you can say 14 questions are directly from old NCERT and new NCERT. And for 16 years of my teaching experience, I have been continuously telling my students that if you want to go into government services, you should read government books. So therefore, like you see in this time, that almost all questions are from old NCERT, new NCERT, and some questions are from IGNOU materials also, IGNOU BA materials also. So when we talk about the 16 question, 3 questions are there from medieval history, 6 questions are there from ancient history, and 7 questions are there from modern history. So UPSC has created a very good balance among the all 3, you can say, sections of history this time. So when we talk about the, you see the first question, it's about Raja Ram Mohan Rai. You know, Raja Ram Mohan Rai was the pioneer of socio-religious reform movement. And so there are 2 statements related to, you can say, his, you can say, perceptions or his theme. So about the Raja Ram Mohan Rai, the first statement, he possessed the great love and respect for the traditional philosophical system of the East. So you know that Raja Ram Mohan Rai, we say that he was a confluence between the East and West. It means that the best of the East and the best of the West, he tried to merge together. So in that sense, we find that he was having very much focus on Vedanta, means you can say the Upanishadaj philosophy, and that's why you see that he was saying that we should take the positive aspects of our, you can say, Indian culture, Indian philosophy. So this statement is correct one. Now, second statement, he desired his countrymen to accept the rational and scientific approach also. So he said that the positive aspects of enlightenment and Renaissance, which are there in the Western, you can say, world at that point of time, because you know that 14th and to 16th centuries or 16th to 18th centuries were the centuries of Renaissance and Enlightenment. So we find that he was also trying to have focus on those positive aspects of Western world, and so he was trying to basically make a confluence between the Eastern and Western philosophies. That's why this statement is also correct. So answer would be C, means the first and second both statements are correct. Now, when we talk about this, the second question, you see, consider the following subject with regard to non-cooperation program. The first statement is boycott of law, courts and foreign courts. So this is correct statement, because you see that the non-cooperation movement was having 2 types of programs. The, you can say, Swaraj program, or you can say Swadeshi programs or boycott programs. It means that basically he was focusing on the boycott, Gandhi especially, who led the movement. So the people were focusing on, the leaders were focusing on the boycott program. So under that, the law courts and the foreign courts were to be boycotted. And the second is observance of a strict non-violence. Now, this is a bit confusing for the new students who are not doing NCERT thoroughly. So you know that Gandhi was the champion of non-violence in international politics. So this is also correct, because he was having a very great focus on non-violence. So the observance of strict non-violence, this is also correct. And then the third statement, retention of titles and honors without using them in public, this is a wrong statement. The fourth statement, that establishment of panchayat for settling disputes, so this is also correct one. So under the constructive programs, this was a very important ingredient. So we find that among these 4 statements, the third statement is incorrect. So 1, 2 and 3 means C would be the answer. Now this question, it is also there in NCERT in different you can say paragraphs, but in IGNOU, when you go with the IGNOU material, in a very particular you can say paragraph, all these programs of non-cooperation movement are there. So therefore, the 3 statements are correct and 1 statement is wrong. So the answer would be C. Now the next question is the irrigation device called Arghata was. So this question has been basically repeated by UPSC, and in even state PCS questions they have asked many times this question. So the answer would be basically the second one. It's a large wheel with earthen pots tied to the outer ends of its spokes, because Arghata, literal meaning of Arghata is basically spoke pots. So the answer would be B for this question. Now, when we go for the next question, we find that who among the following rulers in ancient India had assumed the titles Matbilasa, Vichitra Chita, and you can say Gunvara. So you find that this question is related to you can say Pallava dynasty king, and the answer would be Mahendra Burman first. You know that after the you can say Sangama period, you can say we find that the Pallava and Chalukya conflict was there in South Indian history, and so Mahendra Burman first, Mahendra Burman second, Narsingh Burman first, Narsingh Burman second. They were great, you can say, Pallava dynasty kings, and so Mahendra Burman took the titles of Mat Bilasa, Vichitrachit and Gunbhara. Now here Mat Bilasa, this was a very important, you can say, satire written on the Saivites sect, that's Kapalik sect. So this is a kind of satire. And he also took the title of Mat Bilasa, and he also wrote a satire named by Mat Bilasa. So you find that A would be the natural choice, and this is very much there in the new NCERT as well. When we talk about, you can say another question, who among the following rulers in ancient India had assumed the, we have already done this. So Mat Bilasa, Vichitrachit and Gunbhara, that title was or were taken by Mahendra Burman first. Now next question, who among the following led a successful military campaign against the kingdom of Sri Vijaya, the powerful maritime state which ruled the Malay Peninsula, Sumatra and Java? So we find that the answer is very simple. It's Rajendra first. You know, Raj first and Rajendra first. They were great Chola rulers, and if so, that in entire ancient history, we find that only Cholas were having some kind of a sense of imperialism. So for sometimes they ruled Sri Lanka, and also they had some, you can say, maritime, you can say they fought the war or campaign for, you can say, the Malay Peninsula with Sumatra and Java, so that the trade would be basically facilitated with China. So Rajendra first is very, you can say, this is a very simple question, and this is very much there in old NCERT as well as new NCERT. So this is a bit good question, very simple question. Now next, with reference to ancient India, consider the following, you can say, pairs. So this is the territorial region and the rivers. So this question is related to, you see, Mahajanpades, and we know that, you see, in old NCERT and new NCERT, map is very much there. And so in the map, this different Mahajanpadas are there, and then the rivers are also located there. So if you have gone through this map, you will be finding that this question would be easily solved by you. So Asmak, it's Godavari river, is very true. And then you can say Kamboja Bipasa, it's you can say incorrect answer, because Kamboja is related to Kabul river. Avanti, it's Mahanadi, it's also wrong. Avanti is you can say nearby Narmada river, and so Kosala Saryu, this is the correct one. So option 1 and option 4, they are correct one, and so we find that B for Bombay would be the answer, because first and fourth option are correct. And this is very much there in, you can say in new NCERT and old NCERT maps. So we must understand that the maps are to be studied very thoroughly, because every year UPSC asks some question based on maps. So at least the maps which are there in NCERT, you have to go through that. And so the answer would be for this question would be B for Bombay. And you know that in Mahajanpadej, we are having 3 important books like Anguttar Nikaya, Mahavastu and Bhagavati Sutra. So they are the Buddhist and Jaina, you can say, Anguttar Nikaya, Mahavastu and Bhagavati Sutra. They are the Buddhist and Jain text which mention about the various Mahajanpada existing at that point of time. So it's a very easy question, but if you are good at doing map practice, then you would be easily solving this question. So this answer of this question would be B for Bombay. Now when we talk about the next question, the first Gandharva Mahavidyalaya. So this question is a bit kind of question which is related to art and culture. And this question, or you can say this theme, was actually mentioned in Hindu newspaper in you can say 2018, and in Wikipedia also you can get this question. this question is not mentioned in new NCERT or old NCERT. So it's a kind of, you see, question which is related to art and culture. But in some guides which are there on art and culture, so you can get the answer of this question. So this is a Lahore, D for Delhi, first Gandharva Mahavidyalaya. So the D for Delhi would be the answer of this question. Now, when you talk about the next question, we find that Ashokan inscriptions suggest that the Pradeshika, Rajuka and Yukta, they are important officers at which level. So you know that in NCERT also the Mauryan administration is mentioned very well, and the IGNOU material also you see. So when we go through some IGNOU materials, you find that on the very first page of Mauryan administration, this has been mentioned very clearly. So they are district level administration. So Yukta, you can say the Pradeshika and Rajuka, they are the officers playing important role at district level administration. So the answer would be B for Bombay, which is very much mentioned in BA IGNOU material as well as in NCERT. You can get this. Now, next question is the three statements are there. You can say, or only two statements. So consider the following statement in respect to the non-cooperation movement. So the first statement, the Congress declared the attainment of Swaraj by all legitimate and peaceful means to be its objective. So we find that there are three objectives of non-cooperation movement. The first was to attain Swaraj. The second was to have justice for, you can say, the Caliph. And the third is justice for, you can say, the victims of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So we find that the first statement is very much correct. The second is it was to be implemented with civil disobedience and non-payment of taxes for the next stage of Swaraj did not come within a year, and the government resorted the repression. So this statement is also correct. Now these two statements are very much mentioned in IGNOU books, and in different paragraphs you can get the two statements in old NCERT as well. So this, both statements are correct, and so the answer would be C of this question. So this non-cooperation movement, we find that there are two questions this time, and they are very much interlinked. So if your concept is clear, or even you can say if you solve one question, so easily the second question would be solved by you. So now this time two questions from non-cooperation movement they have asked, and they are there in IGNOU materials in one paragraph, and you see that they are also mentioned in different paragraphs of old NCERT. Now when we talk about the next question, sedition has become my religion was the famous statement given by Gandhi at the time of. Now this is very, very important, you can say, statement, though this is not mentioned you can say in NCERT, like the exact statement is not there. But if you have the understanding, you know that after the, you can say, suspension of non-cooperation movement, Gandhi was charged with sedition and he was put into jail. So at that point of time, basically, Gandhi said that I am very fortunate enough that I am being charged with the same, you can say, sedition charge which was there on Tilak. So you know that Tilak was also charged with the sedition in 97 and 1908. So therefore, this sedition charge was also, you can say, brought with Gandhi, and so this statement was basically given by Gandhi in 1922 generally, but again it was repeated by you see Gandhi at the time of, you can say, the you can say civil disobedience movement when he was breaking the salt laws. So the you can say the answer for this question would be B for Bombay. Now when we go for the next question, we find that the famous female figurine known as dancing girl found at Mohenjo-daro is made of. So very easy question which is there in old NCERT as well as you can say new NCERT. So you see there's a you made of bronze. I know bronze is made of tin and copper, and so this is very, very famous, you can say, finding from Mohenjo-daro, and so easy question. So the answer would be C. Now next question is who provide legal defense of the people arrested in the aftermath of Chauri Chaura incident. So you know that due to the violence which took place at the time of Chauri Chaura, Gandhi suspended the movement, and when there was a, you can say, charge against people by the government, we find that these two great people, Madan Mohan Malviya and Krishna Pant, they came forward and basically they provided legal defense to the people arrested under this charge. So now this direct actually factual information is not there in NCERT. But if you do the, you can say, a bit kind of elimination, easily you would be getting the answer, because Madan Mohan Malviya is very much related to, you can say, Uttar Pradesh or Eastern UP area, Banaras, and he established BHU also. And so CR Des was in Bengal. So you can eliminate these topic, you can say these two options as well as these options. And this is also mentioned on, you can say, various pages in different books written on Madan Mohan Malviya. And if you go with the Mahamana Malviya Mission website, it is mentioned also. So for this question, the answer would be for Bombay, because legal defense to the people arrested in the aftermath of Chauri Chaura incident was provided by Madan Mohan Malviya and Krishna Pant. Now, when we talk about the next question, we find that the subsequent to the which one of the following events, Gandhiji, who consistently opposed untouchability, appealed for its eradication from all the spheres, decided to include the upliftment of Harijans in his political and social program. So the option is a bit easier here. Now the Pune Pact, because you know Ambedkar and Gandhi, they both tried to uplift, you can say, the situation of untouchables, and this was the first, you can say, formal pact between Ambedkar and Gandhi, and so both of them, they contributed for the upliftment of untouchables. So here the obvious, you can say, choice is A. So this is the answer of this question. Now again, consider the following fruits brought by or introduced in India by Portuguese. So we find that all these fruits, papaya, pineapple and guava, they were brought to India by Portuguese. So here you find that C would be the answer, because all three options given by UPSC are correct. Now when we talk about the next question, we find that who among the following was founder of self-respect movement? So it's also information based question, but very easy information. And so we find that the Periyar E. Ramaswamy Naik, like he was the founder of self-respect movement. So this is the answer of this question. So you see, this is all about, you can say, history related questions. Questions are very easy. At least out of 16 questions, you can say 12 to 13 questions are solvable easy. And you can solve them, and they are from directly or indirectly from old NCERT, new NCERT, and some questions they are from IGNOU material. Now Vaibhav Sir is coming. He would be taking the next section.
Thank you so much, Vineet Sir. Thank you for this wholesome and deep discussion which is required for a subject like history, where you require multi-dimensional knowledge of ancient art and culture, medieval, modern history. Thank you so much, sir. Because of some reason, our science and technology faculty had to leave because it was getting so late. So I am just pitching in for Akshavrat sir. So let's now begin the discussion. Science and tech, the first question in our set. Consider the following types of vehicles: full battery electric vehicles, hydrogen fuel vehicles, and fuel cell electric hybrid vehicles. How many of the above are considered as alternative powertrain vehicles? Powertrain is a keyword that is used for those kinds of vehicles which do not depend upon the internal combustion engine or traditional type that drives the motor. And so you can see that all of them, full battery electric vehicle, are driven by batteries. Hydrogen fuel cell, hydrogen reaction or hydrogen fuel drives or first charges the fuel cell, and that's what is used to rotate the tires. And then fuel cell electric hybrid vehicles are also in that sense they are different from the internal combustion engine, where they combine both the battery driven by battery charged by the braking regenerative braking, and you can see that they deviate away from internal combustion engine, and so the answer would be all the three. Then you have a question with reference to unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. Consider the following statements. Now, whether you know about UAVs or not, this sort of a general rule where all types of UAVs can use battery only as a source of power supply. Obviously, you can see that these are too many generic statements together. And especially when it comes to science and tech, you can understand that most of them would be wrong. So not all UAVs can do vertical landings, incorrect. Not all UAVs have the ability to hover. And then UAVs can be powered using batteries and solar power, fuel cell, combustion engines also. So there are internal combustion engines driven UAVs as well. So that is also incorrect, leading us to the right answer D, none. In the context of electric vehicle batteries, consider the following statements: cobalt, graphite, lithium, nickel. How many of the above usually make up battery cathodes? So you know that in every battery there is a cathode, positively charged end, and anode. Cathode is negatively charged and anode is positively charged. Now if you look at this particular option, if you come from science background, you can see that cobalt, lithium, nickel, these three are the metals. And so how many of the above usually make up battery cathodes? These form cathodes, whereas the graphite, it forms the anode. So you can see that our integral material in composition of lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles have four major components: cathode, which is positive electrode, anode, negative electrode, electrolyte, and separator. Of the four material given, lithium, cobalt, and nickel are used for cathode, whereas graphite is used as an anode. So the right answer is only 3. The next question deals with whether cigarette butts, eyeglass lenses, or car tires contain plastics or not. And obviously all of them contain plastic, and this has been one of the reasons because of increasing waste being generated as a result of throwing away of cigarette butts, eyeglass lenses, and car tires, that we have microplastic pollution. Consider the following substances: ethanol, nitroglycerin, urea. Coal gasification technology can be used in the production of how many of them? So you know that coal gasification is a technology which converts the coal into syngas, which is more convenient to use once you have all the toxic material removed, once you have a gaseous material which can be filled in a container, and the transport just becomes quite easy. And so you can see that coal gasification we have discussed. So ethanol can be produced using coal gasification. So yes, nitroglycerin cannot be produced using coal gasification process. So statement 2 is incorrect. Urea can be produced indirectly by the reaction of ammonia and carbon dioxide. So the right answer is only 2. This cannot be produced using coal gasification. What is common characteristic of the chemical substances generally known as Cl20, HMX, LLM105, which are sometimes talked about in media? So these three are classified as high energy explosive that can be used in military weapons. Statement 2 is correct, which is these are explosive in military weapons. Then we have considered the following statements. It is expected that Majorana 1 chip will enable quantum computing, which is the right statement. This is why it was in news. Majorana 1 chip has been introduced by AWS. Incorrect statement, because it has been introduced by Microsoft. You can see that Majorana was recently introduced by Microsoft. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So obviously deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Both overlap. Sometimes they can be different, but yes. So the right answer is 1 and 3 only, C. To discuss last few remaining questions, I would like to call Gaurav Sir.
Hi everyone. So moving forward. So this is question number 8. Just a minute. Yeah. So there are 3 statements in relation to monoclonal antibodies. And if we see the statement 1 is that they are man-made proteins. This is correct. They stimulate the Immunological functions due to their ability to bind the specific antigens. This is also right. And they are used in treating viral infections. Yeah. So all these statements are correct, and therefore option D is the right answer. Next question is, there are 3 statements in relation to virus, and you have to, so this one was relatively an easy question because obviously every year in Science and Tech we discuss about virus and we read about it. It is written that no virus can survive in ocean waters. Number of virus in ocean waters is more than that we can comprehend. Okay, so this is incorrect. Second is, no virus can infect bacteria. So this is also incorrect. We are aware about the bacteriophages, so they infect the bacteria. Third is, no virus can change the cellular transcriptional activity in host cell. This is also incorrect. Question asks you how many of the above statements are correct. So none statements are correct, and hence the answer. Moving towards the next question. Next question is in relation to the activated carbon. So statement 1 says that activated carbon is a good and an attractive tool to remove pollutants from the effluent streams and to remediate the contaminants from the various industries. So now if you see that this question again can be put in science and tech section also, and it can be put in the environment section also. So हो सकता है कहीं पर भी पढ़ा हो. Statement 1 is correct. 2 says the activated carbon exhibits a large surface area, therefore the activation increases and hence a strong potential of absorbing heavy metal. This is right. Statement 3 says activated carbon can be easily synthesized from environmental wastes with high carbon content. So here, if we see, this is also right, and it explains this particular thing, that is the mechanism through which it is able to remove the pollutants, and therefore option A will be the right answer. That is, both the statement 2 and 3 are correct, and they explain the statement 1. Yeah. Moving towards next question. GPS aided geo augmented navigation, GAGAN. So we are all aware about the GAGAN system. Just see the statements. It is designed to provide additional accuracy and integrity. Yeah. It will allow more uniform and high quality air traffic management. This is also right. It will provide benefits only in the aviation but not in others. So this is incorrect. This will be beneficial for almost all the modes of transportation. So this is incorrect, and therefore the correct answer will be D, that is 1 and 2 only, because 3 is incorrect. Next, consider the following space missions and how many of these space missions given above encourage and support microgravity research. So again, if you are aware about these space missions, if you have read the current affairs related to this particular thing, only then you can talk about it. This is not a concept, this is just a factual questions. So we have Axiom 4, we have Spardex, and then we have Gaganyaan. Answer right is C, that all of these missions are going to talk about microgravity research. Then this is also another question coming from the similar part of similar section. So here if you see Dornier 228, this is right, that this is a maritime patrol aircraft, and C-17 Globemaster बहुत बारी news में रहता है, it is in news. So this is a military transport aircraft, and hence 1 and 3 are correct. So therefore only 2 is right. IL-76 is not a supersonic combat aircraft, it is a strategic heavy transport aircraft used by Indian Air Force, right? So hence B answer. So that is all for science and tech. Now just few miscellaneous questions are remaining for current affairs, like prize, Kho and all those things. So just give me a second.
Hello guys, so let's discuss the current affair part. Thank you, sir. So current affair is my area, I take current affair. Now these are factual areas, so I'll just take few minutes to complete this area. So let's take one by one. The first question is about Gokul mission, a very important mission. So Gokul mission is mainly about how do we promote the indigenous breeds of cows and buffaloes in the country. And the reason why indigenous breeds are being promoted is because these breeds are very friendly for Indian environment. India has a tropical climate. So foreign breed survival is a challenge and they require extra support. And they are very much adapted to the current ecosystem, and thereby they promote also the nutrition that they provide in terms of milk and other, that is also better. So it is important for uplifting the rural population. For majority of low producing indigenous animals are with small and marginal farmers. So as we know that 88% of Indian farmers are small and marginal, and thereby they depend on indigenous. So for example, Sahiwal is a cow, it's an indigenous breed. So we promote that in the Gokul mission. It was initiated to promote indigenous cattle and buffalo rearing and conservation in a scientific and holistic manner. There is also statement, both the statement are right, answer is C. So it's a very factual to the point statement that, so moment you read about the scheme, automatically you'll be able to solve it. Who amongst the following are the members of the jury to select the recipient of the Gandhi Peace Prize? So Gandhi Peace Prize consists of 3 people who decide. So President of India is not there, but Prime Minister, Chief Justice and Leader of Opposition is there. So it's a factual question. Now Gandhi Peace Prize is given regularly, and thereby it is very natural for students to know that. So here 2, 3, 4, C is the right answer. Again a factual one, nothing much here. Either you know or you don't know. That is a problem with current affairs. Now again here, International Year of Women Farmer. No, we don't have any such concept as Women Farmer International Year. International Year for Sustainable and Resilient Tourism 2027. This statement is factually right. So statement 2 is correct, and as per the International Year of Sustainable Resilient Tourism. The third is International Year of Peace and Trust. This is 2021. So this statement is wrong. First statement is also wrong. International Year for Asteroid Awareness and Planetary Defense 2029. This statement is also right. So B is the right. Now, such questions, there are utmost caution is needed, and thereby we have to make sure either you solve them. A lot of people attempt 95, 96. Again, don't take guess in such questions, because the statements are either you know or you don't know. So again, question 2, Kho-Kho World Cup. Now, Kho-Kho World Cup was in news. This event was held in Delhi, that is right. And it was held. And here, Indian women beat Nepal, this is right. And the score has been swapped. Okay, so Indian women beat Nepal with this score, and Indian women beat Nepal by this score. So again, it is almost impossible to solve such question, because who would know that how much you beat by what score? So again, such questions should be avoided entirely. I'm not, but the answer here is A. It is not possible for a normal human being to understand, retain such facts. Now again, Gukesh Domaraju again was in news, International Chess Champions. In the finals of held in the, became the world's youngest winner after defeating the, now remember chess tournaments are, they're not about knockout, they're about team based. Okay, so statement 1 is incorrect, as he won, becoming the youngest player to win the candidates tournament, and he qualified for World Chess Championship, but there is no final match of the Olympiad like World Cup. It is a team based event, so not a knockout. So even though half statement is right, half statement is wrong, but overall this is wrong statement. Abhimanyu Mishra, an American chess player, holds record of becoming youngest ever grandmaster. This is also right. He became grandmaster at age of 12 years, 4 months and 25 days in 2021. Again, who would know such factual data, 4 years old data? So B is the right answer here, but again, we need to avoid such questions. Almost impossible to attempt. Now this is a question you should be able to attempt it. So Indian Railway have prepared a national rail plan to create a future railway system by 2030. So this year is logically not right. You know, either it is 2029, 30, 2047, such kind of vision plan government has. Kavach is an autonomous train program developed in collaboration with Germany. No, it is an indigenous program. Okay, so which of the statement are not correct? So first statement is not correct, and Kavach is an indigenous program, so this statement is also not correct. Kavach system consists of RFID tags fitted on the track and in the station section. This statement is right. For detail, you can go through the entire how the Kavach system works. Very detailed information is there. But again, this is something that students should be knowing that. So that completes the discussion section. I would like to thank all the team members for the effort, and also students who have been attending the session from last almost 3 hours. I laud the spirit that people have. This spirit is needed for preparation, and if you're going through that, we'll provide the detailed solution, the PDF also, in the respective Telegram groups. You can go there and keep up the good work. All the students who have prepared well, don't much worry about the scores. Start preparing for mains, because if you clear prelims, mains will decide the real selection. So any speculation, because we don't know. A lot of people might be saying that cutoff is 100, 110. Believe me, it is not. The scores are going to be lesser because there will be normalization. Also, CSAT paper was not so easy as we expected. So it is very natural that scores will be similar to or even lesser than because the sections were easy, but there were sections which were not undoable or tough also. So thank you very much for the entire team of the Extra OIS team and HIS. We have come together on a platform to deliver quality learning and understanding. Take care. God bless you. Keep up the good work and keep the journey alive, because you will crack the exam if you sustain the process, and eventually this is a marathon. So journey is just begun. A temporary pause is needed. Just take few days rest and start with mains preparation, irrespective of the outcome of the exam, outcome of the prelims exam. God bless you. Take care. Bye.